Check 1, 2.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to go right into our public hearing. Um, are you ready, Madam Administrator? Woohoo! We are ready. Uh, we're going to try to figure this out as we go along, but eventually we're going to get to a point where we will be calling the people who are up here that are in person first, but we're going to field this through a little bit. Up first is Candace Barrington. Candace, you got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Candace Barrington, and I am a member of the Board of Directors for New Haven's International Festival of Arts and Ideas. Because the weather is making the roads dangerous, I'm going to keep my comments short and to the point. First, let me thank the state of Connecticut for its longtime partnership with the festival. We are grateful for the festival's line item because it allows us to plan and to grow. Other members of the festival's board have written and will testify to the ways Connecticut communities benefit from the robust partnership between the state and the festival. I come to you tonight to remind you of the festival's behind-the-scenes work with the Festival Fellows program. Every spring, the Festival Fellows program gives regional high school students the opportunity to complete a semester-long college-level course designed to develop their communication and critical thinking skills. Offered through CT State Gateway and at no cost to the fellows, the course immerses them into all aspects of the festival. They meet performers and speakers, witness design and production preparation, as well as learn about donor cultivation and community relationships. The fellows complete the program with marketable skills and invaluable connections that prove useful for future internships and jobs. Your support ensures that this employment pipeline remains in place for cohorts of future students. Thank you for supporting not only the festival's work to present great art and provocative ideas, but also its efforts to cultivate the next generation of arts leaders. Thanks.
Thank you. Up next is King Mans. Not in yet. Up next is Ryan Beach. Ryan, 3 minutes.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, Senator Summers, Representative Nuccio, members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Ryan Beach. I'm the Director of Fundraising and Development at the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness. I live in Glastonbury. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of the Connecticut Can End Homelessness 2026 legislative agenda, including both the coordinated budget investments and the policy changes needed to prevent and solve homelessness statewide. I want to specifically speak to the request to invest $10 million annually in a housing crisis response fund. I've been with CCH for over 7 years, and during that time, I have fundraised for and assisted in the management of many flexible assistance programs, in some years distributing over $2 million in one-time emergency assistance funds to individuals and families. I've witnessed firsthand the efficacy and impact of these programs. During the height of COVID, programs like this prevented over 1,000 households from falling into homelessness at a cost of little over $1,600 each. Our longest running campaign, the Be Homeful Project, has prevented thousands of families and children from ever experiencing the trauma of shelter and at a fraction of the cost. Our data also shows that these families stay housed with a recidivism rate back to shelter of less than 5%. Flexible financial assistance also underpins broader efforts to divert households from shelter and homelessness. When case managers know they have this resource at their disposal, they're able to have productive conversations that can often lead to non-financial interventions. And perhaps most importantly is the human cost saved. For every single one of these cases, we collect a story, and I've read hundreds of these stories. And while they're all different, they all share a similar theme. These are families who are stable, but a one-time event has been the difference between staying in their house and falling into homelessness. And with these types of funds, we can be that difference. So in summary, prevention efforts like diversion are a cost-effective way to keep people housed. Diversion not only solves that family's housing crisis, it reduces the already great strain on our emergency shelters and homeless response system. So we support the inclusion of the existing $5 million for eviction prevention in the FY27 budget. We are asking for an additional $10 million in Housing Crisis Response Fund to provide flexible, rapid assistance to keep households stable and prevent shelter entry. With rental costs rising at astronomical rates, investing in prevention-focused programs that keep people in their homes just makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Up next is Meg Gorman. Are you here? All right. 3 minutes.
Good evening, Senator Austin, Representative Cavros-DeGraw, and Representative Acker, and all other members of the Appropriations Committee who are joining virtually. My name is Megan Gorman. I'm the Government Relations Coordinator for CMHA, Community Mental Health Affiliates. Some of you might recognize me from earlier this week, but if not, don't worry, I'll be here next week as well. Our organization is large. We serve about 7,500 individuals across the state of Connecticut every year, including at least one person from all 169 towns and communities. So that means each and every one of your constituents. I'm here to talk more broadly in support of the HB 5032, an act adjusting the state budget for the biennium regarding the increase in funding for nonprofits. I am thankful for the adjustments that were made previously to provide additional funding to nonprofits, but it goes without saying that it's a drop in the bucket. After decades of underfunding due to shortcomings, inflation, a myriad of issues, the funding is simply not enough to maintain, let alone continue nonprofit services in the future, especially as we find ourselves growing ever thinner between a rock and a hard place, whether that be state funding or federal. I also would like to take a moment in general to reference that while I'm here for CMHA, we are also a member of the CTCAN, the Coordinated Access Network. And we work diligently with our partners to essentially solve the impossible, because we cannot house people if there is no housing. We cannot provide assistance if there is no rental assistance. We are increasingly asked to do the impossible with less, and then when we ask for an appropriate amount, we are told, not now, but later. We have an unfunded pension liability to pay down. I admire that and I respect that we are financially prudent in this state, but I also believe that we need to take care of our neighbors and our communities in a way that will have immediate positive impacts now and long-term in the future. No one wants to be unhoused. No one wants to live on the streets. People want to be active and participating members of their society, and we in many ways are the only organizations that allow that stepping stone to autonomy and independence. I would also like to take a moment to recall the chaos of a few weeks ago when federal officers attempted to revoke grant funding from thousands of nonprofits across the country. My organization, CMHA, was one of those organizations. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a program that met the needs between shelters and unhoused individuals, health care and behavioral health care, helping them find the services that are not active or available in their community? Well, I'd be happy to tell you that a program like that does exist. It's called Impact. My organization operates that in New Britain and Bristol, and we serve over 350 homeless individuals right now through that program. And that was the program that we got sudden notification of was canceled for no reason other than arbitrary presidential priorities. We are glad that that decision, if you can call it that, was revoked at the federal level, and I admire that because it is due to the collaboration, the bipartisanship of elected officials across the country. But we cannot rest idle, because that in and of itself is a threat that continues to loom over nonprofits. We, at any point in time, could be subject to removal of funding or a reduction in grants, and there is no way to compensate for that on our own right now. We already, I think upwards of 50% of the overall cost of unhousing as provided by providers comes from internal. That's not covered by state grants. We fundraise, we do walks to end hunger, we do the plunges, you name it, we've probably done a fundraiser to try and raise money. So last but not least, I would just like to leave you all with the reminder that we will continue to come back. We will keep asking you. But there comes a time when we need to work together to draw a line in the sand. People are unhoused now, and people will continue to be unhoused in the future. And unless we take state-level efforts, such as codifying the McKinney-Vento Act or making efforts to pass a Gloria Johnson Act equivalent here in the state to reduce the ways that we already seem to forget or tread on individuals that are already at the margins of our society. So with that, I thank you all for your time, and I encourage you to listen to those individuals who were able to come here today during the bad weather and also remotely. We are invested, and we ask that the state invest as well, financially. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Mr. Burr.
Good evening, Senator Austin and members of the committee. I am Thomas Burr. I'm the Public Policy Manager for the Connecticut chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, otherwise known as NAMI Connecticut. NAMI is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. If you are unfamiliar with us, I have included more information about NAMI in my submitted testimony. I'm testifying today in regards to House Bill 5032. For the last 20 years, NAMI Connecticut has been working in conjunction with many advocacy organizations like the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness to end homelessness. We care about this issue because 30% of people experiencing homelessness are people with underlying mental health and/or substance use conditions. My own son was homeless when he was in the grip of a serious mental health condition, so this issue is personal to me. In fact, it is the reason I became active in legislative advocacy back in the mid-2000s. The good news is that after receiving treatment, my son is doing fine. He's working full-time and paying taxes. He owns his own business as well as his own home and is doing fantastic. People can and do recover from serious mental health conditions, but they cannot begin a solid path to recovery when they are homeless and focused on only where they're going to be able to sleep safely every night. You have my written testimony again, which echoes the data and the monetary ask of the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness, so I'm not going to regurgitate that here. It's already been addressed. But I do want to point out a couple of things quickly. Homelessness affects people of all ages and abilities. Older adults make up a significant share of the homeless population, as well as children are also impacted, as are many people living with disabilities of all sorts, including mental health conditions. These are the most vulnerable people in our state. We appreciate that the governor's budget includes investments in homelessness and housing stability. Those dollars matter and they reflect recognition of the urgency, but they are a starting point, not a solution scaled to the need. We respectfully urge the committee to increase the appropriation to $123.9 million annually as reflected by the CCEH ask, so the bill reflects the full coordinated statewide investments required to meet this moment. Connecticut needs stable statewide resources to prevent homelessness before it begins, bring people inside safely when they have nowhere else to go, and move people rapidly into housing so that the homelessness numbers decline across our states. And in conclusion, this bill is an important step forward, but without increasing the funding to the level necessary, we won't be able to solve this problem. And with all due respect to the previous speaker, I don't want to be back here again asking next year, because I've been doing it for 20 years. Enough. People will continue to suffer, delay their recovery and re-entry into society, and in some cases lose their lives. I mean, budgets ultimately are a reflection of our priorities. And I know it's an election year. There are people already talking about tax cuts, but here we are this year. We have a surplus. We have room under the spending cap. If not now, when? When are the stars going to align so we can finally solve this problem here in Connecticut? So I thank you for your time and attention and listening to my rant, and I don't want to be here again next year, but thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Alan Bowie, number 6 online.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Senators Austin and Summers, Representatives Walker and Nuccio, and the distinguished members of the Appropriation Committee. My name is Alan Bowie. I currently serve as chairperson of the Neighborhood Music School Board of Directors, and I'm here to request support for NMS in this year's budget. I know firsthand that NMS transforms the lives of students from the ages of 9 months to 99 years old. My journey with NMS began nearly 3 decades ago when I was an 8-year-old excited to take music lessons for the first time with Grace Feldman. I believe that my experience in NMS not only made me a capable musician, but also a better person. In addition to providing high-level music instruction, NMS is a place that nourishes the soul, encourages creativity, and creates lasting bonds and enduring community. Although as an 8-year-old, I likely had no concept of being a board chairperson, I have no doubt that the lessons that I learned at that age planted the seed that led me here. NMS taught me accountability, critical thinking, how to be nimble and quick on my feet, and to meticulously prepare. It also taught me self-esteem, self-respect, how to be genuinely happy for others, and the value of community. Those lessons helped the young musician thrive, but also propelled the future lawyer and board chairperson. Knowing that NMS transformed my life, I believe it is critical that it has the support to continue to create the same transformation for countless other students. I humbly ask you to continue to support NMS so that we can continue this transformative work. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next is Adriana Negron. 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Adriana Negron. I am the Coordinated Homeless Prevention Manager at Journey Home. I'm a resident in Manchester, Connecticut. I'm also here part of the We Can't End Homelessness campaign. I'm also here in support of HB 5032 and in support of the 2026 legislative agenda. So just to dive right into it, diversion and prevention staff are often the only thing standing in between a household and entry into homeless response system. For most of our families within the state that are at risk, diversion specialists are the ones that are in the pathway. They are the ones that are mediating with our landlords, resolving family conflicts, navigating employment barriers, and often problem solving in real time so that a housing crisis does not become homelessness. But we cannot prevent homelessness without staffing capacity to do so. Right now, the demand continues to outpace our workforce. Our providers are stretched thin. Outreach teams, housing search staff, landlord engagement specialists, employment navigators, including youth-focused capacity, and even expanded 2-on-1 housing crisis line hours are all critical pieces, keeping people housed and helping them exit homelessness quickly. Without adequate investment, we're forcing systems to operate in crisis mode rather than prevention mode. That is why I am respectfully urging the legislation to adopt a coordinated annual investment package totaling in $123.9 million, organized as prevent, respond, and house, so Connecticut can reduce entries into homelessness, meet demand with humane capacity, and accelerate exits to housing so homelessness can decline. Within that $15.8 million that I'm specifically discussing, it's really critical and needed to expand our housing capacity statewide to reduce inflow and accelerated exits into housing. This includes $1.7 million for 2 additional specialists per can. That means that will be 14 total, and $875,000 for 1 additional prevention specialist per can. That means a total of 7. While the governor's proposed budget adjustment supports winter response, they do not yet fund the full $31.6 million integrated package and the staffing investments required to meet current demand without pushing providers into defeat. If we are serious about reducing homelessness, then we must invest in the workforce that prevents it. This funding is critical. We cannot afford to keep waiting. Even delays means more families entering into homelessness when we know that prevention works. Connecticut has the strategy. Now we need the investment to match it. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Alex Rodriguez.
He will not be.
Not coming? No. Up next is Frank Trevera, David Fay, Anthony McDonald, and Michael Moran. Come on, guys. Jeez, I could almost call you family. You've been around so long now. Do they have chairs? chairs, guys?
I'll introduce myself.
There's some
and then I'll
chairs right over there. Go ahead.
Well, you
ahead.
can always treat us like family when we ask our requests, because we always help family, right?
Exactly. There you go.
Nevertheless, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Senator Austin and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Anthony McDonald, and I am the Executive Director at the Schubert Theater in New Haven.
Good evening, everyone. I am Frank Tavera, and I'm with the Palace Theater in Waterbury. Michael Moran, President and CEO, Stanford Center for the Arts.
I'm David Fay, President and CEO of the Bushnell, right across the street. And I have been elected to speak tonight, I think, because they were worried about the weather. Figured I could just walk here. So you have heard our statement many times before. So let me just summarize this way. You know, we deliver public benefit. We believe, you know, it's access to the arts, education, programming that strengthens the quality of life, that attracts people and businesses into our cities. We are a year-round economic engine for our cities, filling restaurants, hotels, driving downtown vitality, particularly at a time when we're facing some real challenges with that. And yet, unfortunately, over the last decade, the state's support for the line item that we're talking about here today, that the four of us share, has been reduced by 45% at the same time that the cost of living and doing business in this state has increased by nearly 40%. So somehow the economics don't work. And that's particularly true at a time when we are being asked, I have been asked by the leaders in our city and by state leaders to do more, not less, to draw people back into cities that have been challenged by this new world post-pandemic. There's no question that government support helped us through the pandemic. It helped a lot of people through the pandemic. We're facing a very different world, though, in the post-pandemic time. I'm sitting in meeting after meeting talking about hybrid work, talking about state workers who are required to come in once a week, talking with other officials and other leaders of businesses who are struggling to get their people back into the offices. Our peoples have always been in the office because we're here evenings, weekends, whenever we have to be here, we're here. So it's a little bit different for us. The challenge that we face is there is only one governmental source we can approach for funding, and that is the state. Performing arts centers like ours serve county regions. And across America, counties are the #1 governmental funders of the arts in America by far. So we do not have the resource to go to public authorities whose responsibility it is to work with us. So we come to you, the one place. In the 25 years that I've been heading the Bushnell, the city of Hartford has never given us a dime. And I understand that. The city too has no independent taxing authority. They rely heavily on the state for funding themselves. So I can't even reach out to those suburban communities around the city and ask them for support for the Bushnell, which serves them as much as it does anybody else. So that's why we come here today saying our request would be to help us. Our donors are helping us. Our teams are helping us. We need government to do its part. We are simply asking to go back to the 2015 level that was at about 1.44 million that we would share, about 350,000 each, which is meaningful to each one of us. It's not going to solve the problem, but it's meaningful to each one of us. So that really is our request today. And we do appreciate the support that you guys have provided, and we understand the challenges that is faced by this state. But don't give up on the performing arts.
We don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is James Ferralis. James?
Good evening, honorable members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Jim Ferralis, and I'm the President and CEO of Continuum of Care, headquartered in New Haven. And I'm here tonight to urge you to increase funding for nonprofits like mine by $155 million for FY27. Since December 23, Contima has operated the first non-congregate emergency housing program in New Haven, serving 100 individuals at any given time. This program is not a traditional shelter. It was designed to provide comprehensive services, particularly for unhoused adults with complex needs. I've worked in the field in homeless services since 1991, providing transitional and permanent housing for homeless individuals living with mental health or substance use disorders. In 2007, I helped organize the first point-in-time count in New Haven. For years, we've witnessed steady progress, and homelessness actually declined. However, in the last 5 years, that progress has reversed. Rising rents, a severe lack of affordable housing, and low inventory have forced more and more individuals to become unhoused. What is most alarming is who we are now seeing. Nearly half of all the individuals we serve are over the age of 60. In fact, our oldest guest was 87 years old. And of those elderly, more than 40% are homeless for the very first time in their life. Region-wide, more than 30% are over the age of 55. Many arrive with need for or have walkers in hand, wheelchairs, oxygen tanks, and others have complex chronic medical health conditions. They are not only unhoused, but they're medically fragile. Finding deeply affordable housing is difficult enough. Never mind trying to find ADA units, which is nearly impossible. Recognizing this crisis, I recently formed the Elderly Homeless Work Group through the Greater New Haven Regional Alliance to End Homelessness to bring together homeless providers, the local area aging, and municipal senior services. The purpose is to build an infrastructure to help address the growing population of elderly homeless, which according to the Government Accounting Office is expected to triple by 2030. Our emergency housing program is uniquely designed for this vulnerable population. And in fact, individuals referred through the Coordinated Access Network, or the CAN, end up in our emergency housing program because we have the staffing, the accommodations, and the clinical expertise to meet their needs. The CAN also refers individuals not just from New Haven proper, but also from the 19 towns surrounding New Haven. The results are clear. The rate of return to homelessness from our program is approximately 15%, while the rate for traditional shelters exceeds 60%. It is critical that I highlight that the funding that is currently in place to operate this emergency housing program in New Haven is set to expire in June of 2026, because all this funding came through ARPA. Without continued funding of about $1.5 million annually, or what comes down to $41 per day, 100 people, including those who are elderly and medically compromised, will have to leave, and even more will not have the benefit of these services in the future. Sustaining this funding means preserving an effective model that protects some of the most vulnerable members of our community, reducing long-term costs to the state. I respectfully ask for your support to ensure that this critical program continues well beyond June 26. Thank you for your consideration and your commitment to the health and safety of our community and our state.
Thank you. Up next is Rufus Duran online. Rufus?
Good evening, members of the Appropriations Committee. I'm back. I'm the Interim Executive Director of Connecticut Arts Alliance. We are the statewide arts and culture advocacy organization for Connecticut. And I'm here to talk about the proposed budget with the respect to the need for more robust funding for our state's cultural organizations. In the face of continued federal disinvestment into our sector, we are asking this committee to consider increasing funding to at least the Connecticut Office of the Arts and Connecticut Humanities, which are the two primary cultural funders in our state, both of which are still at pre-2007 recession funding levels. This sector, as we all know, is not only an economic engine, but it also is the space that brings neighbors together, that can help bridge the division that's so rampant in our society right now. Puts neighbors next to neighbors, it puts strangers next to strangers in shared experience that generate joy, awe, and connection. This increases our community health, our vibrancy, our workforce, draws people to want to stay and work and live in the state. I understand the budget constraints that we are facing as a state, but this sector is a proven way to not only generate economic activity, but increase social cohesion, civic engagement, fight against loneliness, and everything else that we're facing in all of our towns. I do want to point out that we know investment works because this year, Connecticut had a historic rise in the SMU Data Arts Yearly Index of vibrant communities in our across our nation. We went from number 18 to number 3. We are now the most highly ranked state in all of New England, and 6 of our towns made it to the top 100 vibrant community list, including New Haven at number 7. This is a direct result of the increased support for the sector during the pandemic. With efforts such as the Cultural Fund, which was a partnership between Office of the Arts and CT Humanities, which provided funds to hundreds of organizations throughout the state. And with your help, we can stay at the top of New England. Right now, we're looking to increase funding to at least $4 million for the Office of the Arts and $4 million to CT Humanities. And we want to continue to work with you to make Connecticut not only the pizza capital, but the creative capital of New England. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Up next, Jason Thomas, online, Neighborhood Music School.
Good evening, members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Jason Thomas. I'm a senior at Hill House High School and ACES Educational Center for the Arts in New Haven. I've been attending Neighborhood Music School through their Delta program for the past 6 years, and I'm here to speak a little bit about my experiences at NMS and how it's impacted my life. When I first started at NMS, I just knew that I loved music. I did not fully understand where it would take me or what it could become in my life. But over time, NMS gave me the foundation and direction I didn't even know that I needed. Through weekly lessons with incredibly talented and patient teachers, I began to see music not just as something I enjoyed, but as something I could pursue seriously and intentionally. NMS didn't just teach me how to play better, it taught me how to think musically. I was challenged, supported, and pushed in ways that helped me grow not only as a musician, but as a person. Being placed in quartets and quintets taught me collaboration and accountability. Performing regularly gave me confidence. Having access to space to record college materials showed me that the staff truly believed in my future. Because of my time here, I decided to pursue music education in college. NMS showed me what strong teaching looks like. I've experienced instructors who care deeply about their students' growth, and that's something that I want to pass forward one day. The environment here is not just about excellence, it's about encouragement. Neighborhood Music School has been more than a place I take lessons. It has been a community that invested in me. I am incredibly grateful for the opportunities, mentorship, and belief I've received here, and I truly would not be the musician or the person I am today without it. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Christine Kim, online.
Good afternoon, Co-Chair Senator Austin and Representative Walker, Ranking Member Summer Nuccio, and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Christine Kim, and I serve as the chair of the Board of Directors for City Seed in New Haven. So 20 years ago, I stood at the very first City Seed Farmers Market dressed as a tomato, and I threw a head of lettuce at Congressman Rosa DeLauro to open up our first market. It was a lighthearted start to what has become a deeply serious mission. Today, I'm here to urge you to restore the full funding originally approved in the DCD budget. City Seed is no longer just a weekend farmers market. We are a vital engine for food agriculture, food and environmental justice, and economic development in Connecticut. We operate at the intersection of 3 critical needs: supporting our farmers, feeding our families, and launching new businesses for economic development. First, let's talk about the farmers. We manage year-round markets in a food hub that provide a reliable and predictable income for over 60 local farms. And in industry margins are razor thin. City Seed is the bridge that keeps Connecticut's soil productive and our agricultural heritage alive. Second, we are a frontline responder for food security. City Seed was the first in the state to accept SNAP benefits at a farmer's market, and we remain a leader in making fresh, local food affordable. This past November, when SNAP benefits were disrupted, we didn't wait for a committee meeting. We mobilized immediately, distributing over $40,000 in emergency benefits in just 2 weekends. We ensured that when our federal system failed, our neighbors didn't go hungry. Third, we are an incubator not just for the American dream, but the Connecticut dream. Through Sanctuary Kitchen, we take the incredible culinary talents of refugees and immigrants and turn them into professional careers. Last year, 21 trainees transitioned into stable employment through our program. Our food business incubator currently supports over 800 entrepreneurs, the majority whom are women and people of color. However, we have hit a physical limit. Right now, New Haven has only one shared use commercial kitchen. To grow, we must build, and the needs of our community are growing, and we lack the infrastructure for our fragile food system. We are currently transforming a former manufacturing building at 162 James Street into a permanent food business incubator and food hub. Since 2021, City Seed has generated $10 million in economic activity with very modest infrastructure. When this facility opens, hopefully in 2028, it will be a game changer, a center for distribution, entrepreneurship that New Haven and Southern Connecticut have never seen before. But to get there, we need consistency and your help. We cannot afford a step backward, so I respectfully ask that you restore the original adopted funding level in the last year's DCD budget. This isn't just a grant. It is an investment in our food system that is more resilient, more inclusive, more profitable, and more delicious for the state of Connecticut. I thank you for this time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Up next is Allison Blaze Wadsworth. There you go. 3 minutes.
Good evening, members of the Appropriations Committee, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm Allison Blaze. I joined the Wadsworth Athenaeum Museum of Art as president and CEO just last month. I am thrilled to be back here in Connecticut, having grown up in Avon. I am here on behalf of our staff, our trustees, and our supporters, and the Connecticut residents who rely on the Wadsworth to reflect and learn and connect. I'm very grateful to the state for your history of support, and I'm here to ask for your continued crucial investment. Your funding advances a host of statewide priorities, including education, youth opportunity, community well-being, and tourism. The Wadsworth is truly a point of pride for Hartford and the state. It's the oldest public art museum in the United States and a living civic institution with a legacy of firsts, named by the Washington Post as one of the top 20 art museums in the country. This past year, we delivered measurable public impact. Our free first Thursdays and second Saturdays for families drew more than 7,000 visitors. We delivered education. Our docents led tours for over 6,000 pre-K through 12 students, including more than 2,500 Hartford students. Our gallery and studio program served over 2,000 students, and we're thrilled to mark the 52nd annual Hartford Youth Art Renaissance with Hartford Public Schools. This past year, we are also happy to advance the Art Bridges cohort program and welcomed important loans and scholarship-driven exhibitions that drove visitation to Hartford. And we focused on our mission to produce an ever warmer welcome for all, including introducing visitor supports like a sensory-friendly Calm Corner. The state's investment truly matters to all of that. Like most museums, we rely on a combination of earned revenue, philanthropy, and public support. And your funding is truly catalytic. It shows private funders you value what we do and helps stabilize our core operations, so what we earn goes even further. Looking ahead, as Connecticut celebrates the nation's 250th this year, we'll soon be opening Framing American Democracy, a series of exhibits highlighting Connecticut's essential role in shaping American democratic ideas, as we also celebrate Hartford native Frederick Church's 200th birthday. We hope two things. First, that you will maintain, or if you can, increase your support this year so we can deliver education, access programming, visitor services, and collections care. And in parallel, that you'll continue investing in Connecticut's cultural ecosystem overall. I've submitted a longer written testimony with more details about the amazing things your support makes happen, and I want to thank you so much for your service and for your continued investment in the Wadsworth.
Thank you. Up next is Stephen Siegel. I don't know if your wife wants to join you. No? Okay. I guess not. You're stuck by yourself.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak for myself. As the husband of many decades, it's a rare opportunity that I'm provided. My name is Steve Siegel. I'm a longtime resident of New London, Connecticut, and for 38 years I've been the executive director of the Gard Art Center. And I just wanted to really thank all of you, Senator Austin and all the members of the Appropriations Committee, on behalf of the many communities who have both saved, built, and relied on the continuing vitality that the Gard provides to the community. I also want to say that we're totally supportive of our colleagues who are sitting behind me from the Bushnell and the Schubert and the two palaces. Our work together continues to this day and was really ignited during COVID to really connect all of Connecticut by our urban centers. And we're very grateful for their support of our tiny city of New London and allowing me to sit among them. They are here today, by the way, to watch how a presentation truly should be made to the Appropriations Committee. And so I will try to show them as best I can, the best that they can aspire to. The Gard, against all odds, frankly, exists. Against all odds, a city that's 6 square miles, half of the city, is tax exempt. A theater that is 20 minutes away from among the 2 largest casinos in the world. A theater that was saved in 1985 from demolition. And in Hartford itself, point out to me where there is a movie palace that was saved. We are a theater that, distinct from my colleagues, is providing an outsized service relatively to the city and the region we have. We are relied upon as the music hall, the symphony hall, the theater hall, the rehearsal hall, the lecture hall, the civic gathering place, the place for homeless hospitality is provided, and classrooms for schools. We are the theater that is relied upon to attract the developers who, in the past 2 years, have really transformed downtown with hundreds and hundreds of new units. We are the theater that the city relies on, giving us direct grants, not really for the arts, but to serve disconnected youth in our communities, because we have a particular commitment and ability to connect others. And it's really not about the arts for us, it's about what an arts facility and an arts space can provide to the community in every way possible. The city recently has asked us to expand, and the city wrote a grant, a community investment fund grant that they received for us to build a second facility. These are outsized obligations, and the expenses and operating expenses we've had have really substantially increased over the years. We had 15 years ago a $300,000 line item, and here we are 15 years later with less than half and probably more than twice the responsibility. So, what we're asking of you is to, do all you can to consider the unique role that the Gard Art Center has in our region and throughout the state, and the example it sets. As a matter of fact, this morning when I left the Gard, we were working with Electric Boat, and I'm proud to say that they chose the Gard to host the signing of 600 new employees, all high school graduates. That to us is a significant achievement as 600 people in our theater. So again, I thank you and I ask you to consider really bringing us back to 15 years ago so we can be ready for the next 50 years, which, by the way, is our centennial. We'll be 100 years old this September. That is against all odds that we've done that, and it's really due a lot to your support. Let's keep it going. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate your wife more. Fellow graduate. Up next, Mary Ellen Meteleska online. Mary Ellen.
Good evening, distinguished members of the committee. My name is Marielle Madaleska. I'm a resident of Pawcatuck, and I'm the Vice President of Education at Mystic Aquarium. Thank you for your continued support and for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to respectfully request that the Mystic Aquarium's line item be funded at $800,000 so we can continue serving communities across Connecticut. Every day, I see what this investment makes possible. I see it in the students who visit us from a district that can no longer afford field trips and suddenly sees a future for themselves in science. I see it in the high school students who gain real work experience at the aquarium and then graduate with the confidence and skills to enter the workforce. And I see it in the families who are able to walk through our doors for the first time or the 10th time because cost is no longer a barrier. Through these experiences, Mystic Aquarium has become the state's largest provider of informal education. We engage more than 170,000 people each year in environmental education. Students from 84% of Connecticut towns participate in our programs, and nearly 17,000 Connecticut students visit us annually through school partnerships that directly support classroom learning. For more than 3,000 students from under-resourced schools, programs and visits are fully funded, ensuring that access to high-quality STEM education is not determined by a zip code. Our impact reaches far beyond our campus. In the past year, 64,000 community members worked alongside us to remove marine debris, restore habitats, and protect Long Island Sound. These are not just environmental stewardship projects. They're an opportunity for residents to become an active steward of the natural resources that define our state. We are also a strong economic partner. We welcome more than 800,000 visitors annually. We employ over 270 people and provide free or reduced admission to more than 100,000 Connecticut residents. We are deeply grateful for the funding included in the proposed budget, but the current level does not reflect the scale of the work or the growing demand from schools, community, and workforce partners. This funding is an investment in Connecticut students, in its environment, and in its economy. I can say with certainty that there is no substitute for these hands-on, real-world learning experiences. They inspire students to stay engaged in school, to pursue careers in high-demand fields, and to become informed and active members of their communities. They help families feel as if this state's natural resources belong to them. On behalf of the entire education and conservation team, I respectfully ask for your support in funding Mystic Aquarium at $800,000. Thank you for your time and your continued commitment to Connecticut.
Thank you. Up next is Mary Falvey. Is she on, number 17? Okay, you guys are shaking your head yes. I don't see her.
17, I don't believe, is joining us.
Okay. Michael Duffy, 18.
Hello, Senator Osteen, Representative Walker, and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Michael Duffy. I'm a resident of New London. I am here today to testify in support of increasing funding to the Connecticut Fair Housing Center by $300,000. In October of 2025, the building I have lived in for 8 years was sold to a new owner. The previous owner didn't really do leases, and I had been month to month since after the first year I moved in. I didn't think much about that being an issue until a week after the purchase went through. I received a notice to quit for lapse of time from the new owner. I had no idea what this meant other than that the landlord was trying to evict me from my home and my community. I was fortunate enough to get connected with an attorney from the Connecticut Fair Housing Center. The attorney taught me about lapse of time evictions or no-fault evictions. And I learned that because I have a disability and my building has more than 5 units, I was protected by Connecticut's just cause law. The attorney was able to intervene with the landlord's attorney and prevent the eviction from moving forward. She was even able to help me explain the situation to my caseworker with the organization I get some rental assistance from. It was a really stressful situation at first, but the attorney was communicative, patient, and so helpful. Unfortunately, many of my neighbors also received these eviction notices, and while the attorney helped us prevent all of the no-fault evictions, we were all still very upset with how this new landlord treated us and became motivated to form a tenant union. As a tenant union, we have been trying to fight for better conditions, fair rents, and better treatment from the landlord. The attorney from the Connecticut Fair Housing Center has been supported throughout all of this. She is very responsive to general questions. She has helped me and my neighbors navigate what to do when conditions issues rise. And when the landlord tried to raise our rents by 20%, she represented us in front of the London Fair Rent Commission, and we were able to get a great outcome. It is hard to be a tenant right now, but I feel much safer doing tenant organizing and standing up for my rights, knowing that the Connecticut Fair Housing Center has my back. The work that the Connecticut Fair Housing Center does is extremely important for tenants like me and my neighbors. I urge this committee to make sure they have the funding they need. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next is Ari Rosenberg. Ari?
Thank you, esteemed members of the Appropriations Committee. I've got a lot to say in 3 minutes, so buckle up. My name is Ari Rosenberg. I live in New Milford, where I have the privilege to serve as an elected member of Town Council. I submit this testimony as Executive Director of the Association of Religious Communities, ARC. We manage and operate the Danbury Support Center, which is the only homeless shelter serving the greater Danbury area 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Before I go any further, I want to assert that I strongly support the Connecticut Can End Homelessness 2026 agenda for a full $123.9 million. Moreover, I support the initiative taken by Senator Julie Kushner and the Danbury delegation to ask the Housing Committee to raise a bill to provide the Danbury Support Center with funding for 60 shelter beds to serve a homeless population of 100 people and growing. After the pandemic, when there were no shelters left to serve the greater Danbury area, ARC stepped up to open the Danbury Support Center, initially with 20 beds at one facility and then an additional 20 beds at another. Last fiscal year, 102 clients stayed with us, and we placed 51 into permanent housing solutions. In the last 6 months, the Danbury Support Center exited 53% of our shelter clients to permanent housing solutions, compared with 51% in Fairfield County and 40% across the state. We're doing amazing work, but we're doing it with one hand tied behind our back. Every other shelter in the state is funded at $11,500 per bed. However, ARC's 40 beds at the Danbury Support Center were singularly funded at half that rate, $5,750 per bed. Now, the Housing Commissioner and the rest of DOH have been very helpful in finding non-renewable resources to fill our deficits for the last 2 years. Without that support, we would not have been able to keep the ship afloat, and we're eternally grateful. However, there is really no compelling reason why the greater Danbury area should not be receiving its fair share of support. It's helpful to contrast Danbury with Norwalk. Total population and homeless population are quite similar, except that Norwalk has more people, and Danbury's homeless population is about 20% larger per last year's PIT count. And yet, the state is funding 56 beds serving Norwalk's homeless population and only 20 beds serving the larger homeless population of the greater Danbury area, or 40 beds at half the price, same difference. Please remember that Danbury was the only city in the state where shelter bed support was reduced 60% from 100 shelter beds during the pandemic at the Super 8 Hotel to a mere 40 shelter beds post-pandemic. We have been repeatedly advised by DOH to appeal to you directly for support because we are told that their budget does not provide enough support for the greater Danbury area to receive what every other shelter in the state is receiving. We can end homelessness in the greater Danbury area, but in order to do so, we will need to be funded at the same level as every other shelter in the state. And we're going to need to expand our operations from a mere 40 beds to at least 60 beds to serve our homeless population of 100 people and growing. $11,500 per bed, 60 beds would cost $690,000. Without that, the Danbury Support Center will remain the most underfunded shelter in the state, despite the fact that we exit a higher percentage of clients to permanent housing solutions. Please help us end homelessness in the greater Danbury area. Thank you for your consideration and support.
Thank you. Up next, Stacy Violante Code, number 20. Have you seen them?
I'm right
here. You in person?
I pivoted.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. 3 minutes.
Good evening, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, and members of the committee. I'm Stacy Violante Cote. I'm the director of the Homeless Youth Advocacy Project at the Center for Children's Advocacy, where we provide direct legal representation to children and youth throughout the state. I particularly have worked with youth and young adults all over Connecticut, from Fairfield County to Danbury to New London and Hartford. I'm here to speak to you about the Department of Housing budget, and you will hear from many of our colleagues here tonight about the needs of the homeless system. You have my written testimony outlining the needs and detailing the ask from the CT Can End Homelessness campaign to make sure that we have a robust homeless system that can meet the young people and all of the populations that we have. But in particular, I want to raise up some of the experiences that minors and young adults have in the homeless system and their needs. In Connecticut, we have 5,137 students experienced homelessness in 2024, and that's K to 12. All of those students have a right to access school, but we do know that school's interrupted when they experience homelessness. We know that many young adults are supporting their families. Many young adults are parents in the homeless system. And some young adults, we've heard testimony of young adults becoming homeless at 16 and fending for themselves, and then going from couch to couch, and eventually making it into the homeless system and needing employment support. And so within this ask is an ask to have appropriate staffing, including employment navigators. What young people say to me is, I want to work. And most young people can find jobs. The challenge is the guidance and coaching that young people need to maintain work. But all of our young people, I'm a parent of 2 young adults, they need guidance and coaching. And for many of the young people that we serve, having had these experiences of instability, having had these breaks in their education, that guidance and support to manage their job site, to manage the skills to be on the job site consistently, manage conflict on the job site. All of these things really require that kind of guidance and support and coaching. That's the word that most young people say. They like the coaching that they can get to be able to find work that is going to be able to sustain them, and in some cases their children, and in almost all cases their families. And so within the ask that you have outlined in my written testimony, within my colleagues' testimony, is that needed support. So I'll conclude here by asking that the $123 million be appropriated. We appreciate that the governor's budget had funding in it for the homeless system, but to meet the need, the request is $123 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming up. Up next is Mark Mitchell. Mark Mitchell, are you here? There you go, sir.
Hello, Senator Austin and members of the committee. I'm Dr. Mark Mitchell. I'm a public health and environmental health physician. I am also chair of the Connecticut Environmental Justice Leadership Collaborative, which is a collaborative of the environmental justice and indigenous leaders throughout the state of Connecticut. Because of redlining and undesirable neighborhoods and exclusionary zoning practices, we still have higher concentrations of environmental hazards in residential in these concentrated areas around the state, residential areas, and we have fewer environmental benefits such as trees, parks, and open spaces. The Biden administration had designated $50 million through their Thriving Communities grant-making program to environmental justice communities throughout New England. We expected about $20 million of that to come to Connecticut to bolster our environmental justice nascent leaders. That funding was canceled by the Trump administration. They, in their attacks against people of color, in their attacks against environmental justice, in their attacks against climate. We are asking that the state of Connecticut move forward with trying to replace just a little bit of that funding. We specifically are asking that that Connecticut fulfill the promise of the Biden administration and invest in projects that help those most affected by climate change and pollution to reduce environmental hazards, reduce adverse health effects from environmental exposures, increase environmental benefits, engage in the public participation process so that those who are most effective have a voice in these processes, and to improve Connecticut's environment for everybody in an equitable fashion. So right now, previously UConn Circa had received some funding to have a grant program for startup environmental justice organizations, and that was a very successful pilot program. So we are asking that the state continue that and restore the funding that the Biden administration had proposed, and give $2.24 million to UConn Circa to have a grant program for environmental justice in indigenous communities.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Up next is John Labianek.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Lebenek, and I am Vice President of Acute Services. I oversee Continuum of Care's emergency housing program located at 270 Foxen Boulevard in New Haven. And I am here to testify in support of Bill number 5032. I care about this issue pretty deeply because, as Jim had mentioned, 100 individuals could find themselves living back on the streets on June 30th, 2027 due to a lack of funding. I'm here as a member of the leadership team at Continuum of Care, as well as a licensed clinical social worker and homeless services. More importantly, I am here as someone with my own story, which has come full circle for me. Having faced addiction and homelessness in my youth, I know very well the feeling of isolation, loneliness, fear, and uncertainty. Believe me when I say the cycle of homelessness can only be one with the right services and the right resources. I am before you today as living proof that recovery is possible. Years ago, someone invested in my future, and today I'm asking you to do the same for others. Your investment can literally change lives, just as it changed mine. Unhoused individuals have really become the lepers of our society, unseen, forgotten, and burdened by shame when every single door is closed on you. I know that pain very well, and we cannot close the doors at 270 Foxen. Currently, our most vulnerable neighbors are suffering through a complexity of traumas, mental illness, and medical disabilities. Without deeply affordable housing, the barriers remain insurmountable. In New Haven, our population is not just growing, it is aging and becoming sicker. Our emergency shelter at 270 has served as a vital sanctuary for those navigating homelessness, while also aging, battling cancer, wheelchairs, walkers, and facing terminal illnesses. We can't afford to look away from this. If we continue to ignore the crisis, it will only deepen and get worse. We appreciate the governor's budget, which includes investments in homelessness and housing. Those dollars matter, but they don't reflect the urgency of what we need for our aging population, which, as Jim mentioned, is expected to triple. I respectfully urge the committee to support the bill so that funding may be preserved and proven for a proven critical resource that will protect the humanity and well-being of most of our vulnerable citizens and lead to a healthier community. Please invest in the confidence that there is a way out of homelessness. I ask you to please invest in the conviction that recovery is possible. Bring people inside safely when they have nowhere else to go, and move people rapidly into housing so that homelessness declines across our state. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you all have a good evening.
Thank you. Up next is Jason Patlis. You changed too. Go ahead.
Good evening, Co-Chair Austin and Vice Chairs, ranking members, and members of the committee. My name is Jason Patlis. I'm President and CEO of the Maritime Aquarium at Norwalk. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you this evening on the governor's proposed FY27 midterm budget adjustments. Last year, when the governor introduced his budget, he talked about his desire to make Connecticut a place where people want to live, work, and play, and we feel that the aquarium embodies all three of those goals. We're a great place to work. We currently employ about 180 staff, 90 full-time, 90 part-time staff. We're a great place for fun. Come and visit. More than 500,000 annual visitors from all 50 states, and a great place for learning, with about 60,000 students and children participating in our education programs, which are across the state as well. And we contribute to Norwalk as a great place to live. Roughly 8,000 households are members of the aquarium, and we're one of the many reasons why Norwalk is one of the best cities in the state. This year, the governor and many of you have focused on affordability, and this has long been a priority for the Maritime Aquarium. As we emerged from the pandemic back in 2021, we initiated a program to allow SNAP holders, EBT card holders, to come into the aquarium at a very reduced admission price of $3. And since then, 48,000 children and families have taken advantage of this discounted admission if they present their EBT cards. And 81% of those come from the state of Connecticut, but we've also seen visitors from 36 different states. The Maritime Aquarium last couple of years ago had an independent study commissioned for economic impacts, which concluded that the aquarium has benefits of $56 million annually for Norwalk, $89 million annually in economic benefits for the state of Connecticut through employment, capital construction programs, as well as consumer spending. So let me offer this as a statistic for you to consider. The funding that we get from this committee is incredibly leveraged. For every $1 appropriated, the Maritime Aquarium generates $110 in economic benefits. Just two additional points in closing. With all of the uncertainties that take place in Washington, D.C., the federal funds that we get are really at risk and very uncertain. And then, of course, down in Norwalk, I'm sure you all know we continue to contend with the impacts of the state's Walk Bridge Replacement Project. So the funding that we get from this committee is extraordinarily important for us. And for these reasons, we respectfully request that you maintain the level funding that is currently in the proposal and that was afforded last year. And with that, thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Have a nice drive. Up next is Ella Kennan. Ella?
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I could not be there in person as I had planned. Good evening, Senator Austin, President Walker, and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Ella Kennan, and I am the coordinator of the New Connecticut Farmer Alliance, a network of about 700 beginning and small-scale farmers across the state of Connecticut. I am here with a very specific request. Please include $300,000 in the fiscal year 27 budget for 2 Department of Agriculture staff positions to implement the Farmland Access Grant Program established in Public Act 25-141. Last year, the legislature identified a real problem and acted on it. You authorized $10 million to help farmers access land. Right now, that program cannot operate, not because it failed. It wasn't even opposed, not because the need isn't there. It's greater than ever, simply because there's no staff to run it. After the budget is finalized, the department must develop the program, classify, post, hire, and train staff. Approving funding in this budget allows the program to begin on the schedule that you wrote into statute. With the average age of Connecticut farmers pushing 60, we need a steady pipeline of new blood. But for beginning farmers, land access determines whether a farm exists at all. Many in our network farm on short-term leases. They cannot plant orchards, install irrigation, refrigeration, or greenhouses, or invest in soil health because they might lose their land next year. Others complete training programs, build markets, and then leave farming entirely because finding land is impossible. And when we lose farmers, we lose farms, often permanently. The Farmland Access Program is unusual in its flexibility. It allows towns, nonprofits, and land trusts to structure solutions that make sense for them and their farmers. Buy, protect, sell arrangements, long-term leases, down payment assistance, incubator farms, and more. You didn't authorize a program. You authorized a toolkit, but a toolkit that remains in statute helps no one. We're asking you to make a program you already approved real and include the $300,000 that it takes for Department of Agriculture staffing. This modest investment ensures the policy that you enacted actually reaches farmers and preserves working land as you intended. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Did you submit written testimony?
I did.
Thank you. Up next is Jim Patinelli. Jim, floor is yours.
Good day, Senator Austin, members of the committee. I'm Jim Patinelli. I'm with the Liberty Community Services. We do housing and homelessness in Greater New Haven. Thank you for the opportunity of hearing us as we testify in support of the CAN Homelessness 2026 legislative agenda. The urgency of this moment is impossible to ignore. We continue to see, and you continue to hear through these public hearings, devastating examples of the escalating housing and homelessness crisis. The causes are complex, but the responsibilities and the opportunity to correct course is shared by us all. I am proud to stand with the coalition today in support of our advocacy agenda, which outlines $123.9 million investment package organized under a clear prevent, respond, house framework. This plan will reduce entries into homelessness, meet demand with humane capacity, and accelerate paths to permanent housing. I want to thank the legislature, municipal leaders, DOH, DEMIS, the Partnership for Strong Communities, the Connecticut Community Nonprofit Alliance, and most importantly, my peers and colleagues, the frontline providers who show up 24/7, 365, and never give up on the people we serve. A critical component of our agenda, the respond category, includes a 3.5 ask to stabilize agency core capacity. For years, nonprofits have operated under chronic underfunding, wages that cannot keep up with the market, double-digit health insurance increases, and operational demands that grow as the needs explode. The benefits of meaningful investment are clear. Adequate staffing reduces inflow, shortens episodes of homelessness, improves stability, strengthens outcomes, because housing is healthcare, and delivers also a measurable return on investment. One study shows that every dollar invested in our core programs generates $1.44 in net cost savings. Who wouldn't be elated with a 44% return on investment? Finally, I want to quote Kip Tiernan, who was the founder of the first women's shelter in the United States. She said, "Charity is accepting scraps from the table. Justice means being invited to the table. Our providers are not asking for scraps. We are asking for true value funding that reflects the real cost of doing this work." Thank you so much for hearing us tonight.
Thank you. Up next, Mary Ann Mahoney. Who's online? No, Mary Ann Mahoney.
Mary Ann, if you could please unmute yourself.
I just did. I'm trying to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn on the camera.
Just go ahead. Talk.
Okay. All right. Buenas noches, buenas noches. Good evening, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, Senator Hartley, Representative Covers DeGraw, Senator Gordon, and Representative DiCaprio, and other esteemed members of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to express my support of HB 5032 related to Connecticut Humanities. And I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but it's the weather. My name is Mary Ann Mahoney. I live in Canton, Connecticut, and as director of the Latin American, Latino, and Caribbean Center at Central Connecticut State University, I've been the project director on 6 small grants from Connecticut Humanities over the past 5 years. I cannot emphasize enough how important Connecticut Humanities support has been for our work at the LALCC. CCSU's LALCC is an academic and cultural center that promotes the understanding and the appreciation of Latin American and Caribbean societies and of Latinos in the United States. Each year, we organize programs related to our mission and of import to the Connecticut public. Recently, with Connecticut Humanities support, they've included the role of Latino literature in American history and understanding Latino identity through art. We're planning a program on the history of U.S. citizenship and immigration law in the coming year. Each year, between 15 and 20 paid student interns help to organize our programs and apply skills from their majors to tasks such as design, budgeting, library management, preparing our newsletter, and staffing conferences. Our success in Connecticut Humanities peer review competition has earned us respect. This led in 2023 to the appointment of a full-time administrative assistant for the center. Through her work, LALCC coordinator Melody Lozano, a 2023 magna cum laude CCSU graduate of Peruvian descent, has discovered an affinity for administration and is aiming to become the administrator of a state cultural institution when she finishes her MS in public history. Receiving Connecticut Humanities grants has allowed me to train Ms. Lozano and our more experienced interns in grants management. Visitors and speakers at Connecticut Humanities events on campus have donated over 4,000 books and important pieces of art to the LALCC. Connecticut Humanities grants have helped us make strong connections to local cultural institutions, including the Spanish community of Wallingford, New Britain Public Library, and the New Britain Museum of American Art. Connecticut Humanities funding was the catalyst of all of these positive developments and more, and I urge you to fund them robustly as federal government budget cuts have taken a serious toll. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Sarah Fox. I see you, Sarah.
There it went. Now it works. Sorry.
That's very good, Marianne. Don't worry about it. Sarah,
Well, you know, it just involved clicking the button.
Good afternoon, good evening, members of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify, and I really want to speak to you about the gravity of the moment before us. The data that we are sharing is not ambiguous, and the strain is visible, as you know, across every region across Connecticut. The decisions that you'll make in this budget adjustment is really something that could stabilize the trajectory up for our state and prevent harm. I'm Sarah Fox. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness. Through the Connecticut Can End Homelessness campaign, we work in partnership with providers, municipalities, hospitals, outreach teams, and state agencies across Connecticut. We are seeing a tremendous increase in homelessness across the state, and you have heard from my amazing colleagues about the impact that it's having. We're seeing more elderly, more families, more children, more of our neighbors become homeless, mostly because of an affordability problem, because they are being evicted from their housing, because they are not able to keep up with the pace of cost across the state. And this year, we have presented a ask that probably seems just really high and outpacing the ask that we've had before us in the past several years. And it's not because we are greedy. It's not because we want things that are beyond our grasp. It's because we recognize a need that has far outpaced our ability to do this work. Our homeless response system was put together very much, as we've often said, with Scotch tape and bubble gum. We have providers who have to fundraise and do bake sales for critical services. We run galas for things that are part of our emergency response system. So we do not have a response system that's resourced. And when we're facing increased need, what it means is a patchwork of services, people falling into homelessness, and people potentially dying on the streets because we do not have the resources to serve them. So what you have before you is a list, it's a statement of need, it's what we need today. It will not solve homelessness, that really relies on housing, but it gets us farther to protecting families across the state. We also are facing incredible federal uncertainty. We have news, it is in my written testimony that we will be sharing. And so there is risk again in just keeping people housed. And so today we have a moment to define our future, and we have to start keeping people housed. And how we do this together is by investing in prevention, investing in a strong response system that it has the funds to keep doors open, but also to respond to homelessness as it arises, and by moving people home through wraps and services, which is a best practice. So I really appreciate the work that you all have before you. We are very open to having further conversations about the impact we can all have together when we work together to prevent, respond, and house our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Jennifer Paradise. Jennifer, 28. Online. Oh, no, you're here too.
In real life.
You guys are confusing me. I got people
'cause it's still
online
early.
who are here and people who are in person who are online. Go ahead.
It's
Floor is
so
yours.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here with you all. My name is Jennifer Paradis. I'm the executive director of the Bethel Center in Milford. We serve 13 municipalities from Milford to Guilford in the lower Naugatuck Valley area. And I'm here to echo and reflect a lot of what my colleagues and people with lived experience are saying, in that we have an emergency out in our communities. More people, more families, more seniors, more disabled individuals, more folks who, quite honestly, had a house fire and couldn't come back, financially and otherwise, are experiencing homelessness more readily for the first time in their lives and in an ongoing chronic way than ever before. This is a result of many failed systems. This is a result of many gaps in many systems, but similar to my comments in the Housing Committee just a few days ago, we are the emergency room of our communities. During COVID, we were there every single day, keeping people out of hospitals and keeping people well enough. And we continue to be that community, that healthcare, that emergency room in our community. And when needs arise and when needs are higher than resources, we must triage. And the folks who are experiencing homelessness in our communities, the thousands and thousands of folks experiencing homelessness across our state, are the most vulnerable and the most visible of the economic crisis and the housing crisis that exists within our state. If you want to do something about housing, you must first respond to the victims of the housing crisis, and those are folks experiencing homelessness. We have an ask, just as my colleague Sarah Fox had just stated, we have an ask that is higher than anything that we've come to this committee before. We cannot change the past, but God, I wish we could, because to be quite honest, these are the numbers that it takes to solve for homelessness in communities. It's possible. I'd love to spend time talking about what happened during the pandemic when we were resourced appropriately to do a lot of the great work that we did. But the reality is that we didn't come to you all with the numbers that really we knew it took to solve for homelessness. We work with a lot of colleagues across the state. We didn't want to go elbow to elbow with, it takes a village to bring our state forward into the future. But our communities can't wait. I know we all live somewhere, we all drive home, we all see people experiencing homelessness, and we say, what about them? This past week, we ended extreme cold weather, a time in which we get significant resources to hotel and support people who would otherwise be unsheltered and, quite honestly, die outside. We've lost 20 people this winter season that we know of, right, out of the state. When extreme cold weather happened in our small community of Milford, 3 times the amount of people who we could manage and who we could support in our No Freeze program showed up to our front door. So here we are with an ask that is nearly 3 times greater than what we have asked for you before, right? So I thank you all for the hard work that you all do. I really hope that you consider this ask appropriate for the moment that we are in. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Caitlin Kimball online. Caitlin?
Yes, good evening, Senator Austin and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Caitlin Kimball and I live in Naugatuck. I am the co-owner of Sunset Farm, a fruit, vegetable, and flower farm. I'm here tonight to speak to you about 2 things. First, I'm writing to ask you to fund 2 Department of Agriculture staff positions needed to implement the Farmland Access Grant Program established in Public Act 25141. The legislature already authorized the program, which was created to help farmers access farmland. Without staffing, the program cannot start. Access to land has been a huge challenge for my farm and other beginning farmers, with the average cost per acre double, triple, even quadruple in Connecticut compared to the national average. Beginning farmers like myself need support in accessing land. Funding 2 positions of the Department of Agriculture for the Farmland Access Grant Program is an investment in the future of our state's food supply. I'm also the Director of Agriculture at City Seed, a nonprofit located in New Haven. For 22 years, we've supported farmers and food business entrepreneurs in our state's food system. I'm here to share the impact of this support and request that you restore the full funding originally allocated for next year in order to continue City Seed's programming and expansion. At City Seed, I direct a network of 4 farmers markets that saw $1.6 million in sales last year, going directly to more than 50 businesses, including 25 Connecticut farmers from across our state. We host 55,000 visitors and saw a record $136,000 of nutrition benefit redemption, including the SNAP and Farmers Market Nutrition Program. We are one of the top 3 redemption sites for nutrition benefits in the state and double the value of these benefits to reach more food insecure seniors and WIC recipients. Last year, we also began operating a small food hub connecting institutional buyers like New Haven Public Schools to more than a dozen local farmers. City Seed plays a vital role in our food system, supporting farmers and increasing food access in the city and across the state. Continued support at the level committed in last year's DECD budget is critical to our continued process. Please reverse the governor's proposed cut and enable City Seed to continue our forward momentum in partnership with Connecticut farmers and food businesses. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Have a nice night. Up next, Jason Mancini.
Good evening, Senator Austin and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Jason Mancini, and I'm the Executive Director of Connecticut Humanities. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan, statewide affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities and a principal funder of cultural organizations in Connecticut. I'm here to testify in support of the governor's budget and also to strongly encourage additional investment in the cultural sector. Specifically, we're seeking a total minimum investment of $4 million for Connecticut Humanities and for the Office of the Arts. Adjusted for inflation, this returns us to state funding levels from 2006. We are at a crossroads. Our residents and our cultural organizations are under attack. Without a doubt, food security, healthcare, and housing are urgent priorities, but none of that is fixable without systems of support for the civic and cultural infrastructure that uplift our values and cultivate our citizens and our civic health. With few exceptions, public and private funding for arts and humanities is evaporating. For too long, level funding and even reduced funding have been our reality. Libraries and museums feel it acutely. Cut, cut, cut. For generations, these institutions have been a bedrock of learning and access in our American democracy. They are spaces of curiosity and knowledge, civic engagement, and understanding. Early last year, the threats from Washington, D.C. were abstract. But since April 2nd, 2025, for us, they became real. DOGE has done some serious damage. Federal funding terminations have taken a toll on our state, and resources meant for Connecticut have been redirected towards partisan projects. To this day, and for the first time in 50 years, we remain unfunded by NEH. Our mission is to fund, convene, and advocate for Connecticut cultural organizations. Given federal disinvestment, we're adapting our funding model. As we pursue private funding, the cultural sector also needs meaningful, accessible, and accountable public investment. Through peer review and auditing practices, we've earned that public trust. We also cultivate fertile ground for ideas and innovation for our future workforce. Connecticut is a place of entrepreneurship and innovation, but that doesn't happen by magic. It requires vision, funding, and stewardship. We've had a glimpse of that during the pandemic. Your 2-year, $30.7 million investment allowed us to create the Connecticut Cultural Fund, which funded over 700 cultural organizations across the state. The fruits of that investment are showing up now as Southern Methodist University just released their annual national study on arts and culture vibrancy. Connecticut shot up from number 21 to number 3 nationally and was called out in the report for the seemingly inexplicable jump. They might not understand why, but we do. And though we've had some casualties along the way, we're stronger because of you. This achievement doesn't maintain itself. It requires our vision, our funding, and our stewardship. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Robert Krett. He looks like he's online.
We're trying to promote him to panelists. We've been having.
We got him.
Oh, we have him. Never mind.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Krett.
It's still loading. Just give him one moment. It should pop over.
Mr. Krett?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. The floor is yours. 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Senator Austin, Representative Walker, Senator Summers, Representative Nuccio, and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Robert Krett. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History, and I live in Hartford. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in support of increased funding for arts, culture, and tourism. I respectfully urge you to increase state funding to $4 million for Connecticut Humanities and $4 million for the Connecticut Office of the Arts. In 2025, as you just heard, Connecticut Humanities lost significant funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities. A $4 million investment would stabilize operations, support statewide cultural infrastructure planning, and help lead Connecticut 250, our state's commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It would strengthen workforce development by supporting jobs in museums, historic sites, arts organizations, and creative small businesses across Connecticut. It would expand competitive grants to cultural organizations and communities statewide and support economic impact research so policymakers can clearly measure return on investment. The Connecticut Museum has directly benefited from funding through Connecticut Humanities and Connecticut Office of the Arts. That support has helped us to hire Connecticut professionals, strengthening the state's creative economy and keeping talent here. Provide underwriting for K-12 student transportation, curriculum resources for teachers, and digital programming for students statewide. We've also been able to mount exhibitions and launch public programs that draw visitors to Hartford, generating spending across local restaurants, hotels, and small businesses. It also has helped us to present cultural sustainability programming that strengthens sense of place, promotes traditional arts, encourages civic dialogue, and builds community pride. State funding is catalytic. It allows us to leverage federal, foundation, and private support. When Connecticut invests in arts and culture, national funders and private donors follow. Without strong state participation, it becomes harder to compete for outside dollars. Arts and humanities funding is not a luxury. It is economic development. It supports tourism, attracts and retains skilled workforce, revitalizes downtowns, and enhances quality of life, all factors businesses consider when deciding where to locate and grow. It's also education policy, reinforcing classroom learning with primary sources and hands-on experience that build critical thinking and civic understanding. It is civic infrastructure, fostering dialogue, shared history, and community cohesion at a time when those qualities are urgently needed. As we approach America 250, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to showcase Connecticut's leadership in our nation's founding and strengthen our cultural infrastructure for decades to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night. Ed Hawthorne.
Evening, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Ed Hawthorne, and I'm proud to serve as the president of the Connecticut AFL-CIO, representing more than 250,000 active and retired workers across the private sector, public sector, and the building trade. I'm also a proud member of AFSCME Local 269 and a former appeals referee with the Department of Labor. I'm here today to urge your support for funding of 15 appeals referee positions within the Department of Labor's Employment Security Appeals Division. Appeals referees play a critical role in protecting workers' access to unemployment benefits. The cases they hear each day are not simple. Each one requires extensive pre-review, taking sworn testimony, actively assisting unrepresented parties present their cases effectively, evaluating and weighing evidence under relevant case law, and issuing a written legal decision that meets strict federal timeliness standards. This is highly specialized legal work. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be automated without jeopardizing fairness and accuracy. Every appeals referee undergoes a 2-year training period because the issues are complex and the pace is demanding. When these positions are vacant, the entire system slows down. Over the past year, the appeals division has lost 15 referees, including 14 layoffs directly tied to federal Department of Labor funding cuts. But while federal funding has gone down, the need for timely unemployment hearings has not. The remaining staff are being asked to do more with less, even as caseloads continue to grow. This is not a new problem. In the past 20 years, DOL as a whole has seen a reduction in workforce of approximately 800. But the recent cuts have pushed the system to the breaking point. We are already seeing the consequences. Appeals referees are now being scheduled approximately 2 months out with a 5,000 case backlog. For unemployed workers, a 2-month delay is not an inconvenience. It is a financial crisis. These are people living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out how to pay rent, buy groceries, and keep their families afloat while their appeals sit in a queue. And we have to be honest about what happens when the economy slows. When separations rise, appeals surge. The Department of Labor is not prepared for this surge with its current staffing levels. If we do not restore these positions today, delays and backlogs will grow dramatically, and we will have no realistic way to get them under control. Once again, these aren't people you can pull off the street. It takes 2 years to train them. Funding these 15 positions is a proactive investment. It ensures Connecticut is prepared for the next economic downturn, not scrambling after the damage is already done. It protects workers, supports families, and maintains the integrity of our employment system. On behalf of the Connecticut AFL-CIO and the workers who both administer and rely on these services, I strongly urge you to support the funding needed to restore these appeals referees' positions. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ed. Have a nice night. Chelsea Ross, are you here? Chelsea Ross?
They're having some difficulty getting here with the weather, so perhaps we'll circle back.
Eliza Halsey?
Good evening, co-chairs, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, Ranking Members Summers and Nuccio, and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. My name's Eliza Halsey, and I serve as the Community Services Administrator for the City of New Haven, overseeing several critical departments, including our Department of Community Resilience, which includes the Office of Housing and Homelessness Services, the Office of Community Mental Health Initiatives, and the Office of Violence Prevention, in addition to Elderly Services Department, Health Department, Youth Department, and the New Haven Free Public Library, all of whom work together with our community partners to serve our most vulnerable residents in New Haven. I'm testifying on the governor's proposed adjustments to the biennial budget for fiscal year 2026-27 to urge you to allocate $1.5 million for Continuum of Care's emergency housing program at 270 Foxen Boulevard in New Haven, and to fully support the $123 million Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness campaign. With the gutting of our social safety net through H.R. 1, the most constrained housing market in the country, extreme federal uncertainty, and rising unaffordability, we will only see homelessness rise if we don't continue to invest in housing programs that support our most vulnerable residents and provide the wraparound services that help them stabilize for the long term. Homelessness in the greater New Haven region, which includes 19 municipalities, has increased this past year, just as it has across the state. Across the state, unsheltered homelessness rose 45% this past year. In Greater New Haven, we had 905 individuals on our unsheltered list in Q3 of FY25, which was an increase of 43% from 633 individuals in November of 2024. New Haven's 3 warming centers, 7 shelters, and network of other support serve not only New Haven residents, but the entire region. We are grateful for all of our dedicated community partners serving people experiencing homelessness. In the fall of 2023, the city invested $6.9 million to purchase a Days Inn to convert it into the city's and state's first non-congregate shelter at 270 Foxen Boulevard, seeing the success of and the need for different emergency housing program model. with individual rooms, those that may refuse or cannot be accommodated by shelters, such as those with a physical disability, couples, people with pets, can experience some housing stability through a non-congregate model. With 24/7 staffing that includes case managers with lived experience of homelessness, a full-time clinician, a housing coordinator, and other support staff, Continuum of Care's emergency housing program has helped hundreds of individuals regain their footing and get connected to medical and mental health services, substance use treatment, and eventually transition to permanent housing. Continuum of Care has been an incredible partner, and the emergency housing program at 270 Foxen has been invaluable to the greater New Haven region and the state. I strongly encourage your support. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Caitlin Rose? Is Caitlin Rose here?
Madam Chair, they will not be testifying.
Kip Kolensky? Is he with, Oh, there you are, Kip. Thank you.
Dear co-chairs, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, vice chairs, ranking members, and esteemed members of the Appropriations Committee. The Working Lands Alliance appreciates the opportunity to submit testimony in support of additional funding for the Connecticut Department of Agriculture's budget. Again, my name is Kip Kolsinskis, and I'm chair of the Working Lands Alliance. The Working Lands Alliance is a broad-based statewide coalition dedicated to preserving Connecticut's farmland, and we care deeply about a healthy agricultural sector and prosperous future. I'm here to urge you to include $300,000 in the fiscal year 27 budget for 2 dedicated staff positions at the Department of Agriculture. These positions are needed to operationalize the Farmland Access Grant Program, which was established last session through Public Act 25-141 with strong bipartisan support and $10 million in bonding authorization. I work with beginning farmers on a daily basis as a consultant, and secure land access is the single biggest barrier to facing historically underserved farmers and beginning farmers. So land prices have skyrocketed, sprawl's on the rise, and it's putting farm ownership out of reach for the next generation. The average age of farmers is almost 60 years old. Without action, we're going to lose productive farmland and development and the opportunity to transfer knowledge and land to the next generation. Connecticut agriculture is a $4 billion industry and supports over 18,000 jobs. Farmland stewardship helps provide important ecosystem services critical to climate resiliency and our quality of life and health. So it's definitely a business and a land use worth investing in. The legislature did the right thing by creating this program, but more than a year later, it's remaining non-operational because the Department of Agriculture does not have the dedicated staff to implement it. The $10 million you're already committed in bonding is sitting unused. So the $300,000 to hire 2 staff members is a modest investment to unlock those funds, protect more farmland, keep it affordable for the next generation, and get it in the hands of those who want to farm. So I respectfully ask this committee to fund these 2 positions so the Farmland Access Grant Program can become a reality for Connecticut communities and farmers. So again, thank you for your time and continued commitment to Connecticut agriculture.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Up next, Melvin Graham. Is Melvin Graham here? Number 37. Online? No? And Michael Moran already spoke before. He was with the 4 gentlemen, so I've already, I crossed him off. Aubrey Skelsky. Aubrey Skelsky, number 39. No? Jamie Parker, TVCCA.
Thank you.
Hello.
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, Senator Austin and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Jamie Parker, and I'm the Eastern Connecticut Coordinated Access Network Project Manager. And I'm here today to urge you to invest $50 million to expand and preserve the Rental Assistance Program, otherwise known as RAP, in the upcoming budget. At its core, this proposal is about stability, dignity, and prevention. An investment of $50 million in new RAP rental assistance funding will allow us to serve 3,400 additional households who are currently experiencing homelessness or severe housing insecurity. These are seniors on fixed incomes, individuals with disabilities, working families, and people whose stability has been shaken by economic pressures and shifting federal housing policies. Without intervention, many of these households will fall deeper into crisis. At the same time, it is critical that we preserve existing RAP funding in the FY27 budget. Maintaining current support ensures that thousands of low-income, elderly, disabled, and family households can remain housed and avoid entering the homeless services system. Prevention is not only compassionate, it's fiscally responsible. The cost of shelter, emergency health care, child welfare involvement, and crisis response far exceeds the cost of stable rental assistance. We are also facing uncertainty due to federal policy changes that may reduce housing supports at the national level. Expanding RAP protects our state's most vulnerable residents from those risks. It creates a state-level safeguard to ensure that people do not lose their homes because of decisions beyond their control. Housing is not a luxury. It's the foundation upon which all other aspects of stability are built. According to the framework developed by Abraham Maslow and his theory of the hierarchy of needs, human beings must first meet their most basic physiological and safety needs before they can focus on employment, education, health, or community engagement. Shelter is one of those fundamental needs. When a person does not know where they will sleep at night, it's nearly impossible to maintain a job, manage a medical condition, support a child's education, or pursue long-term goals. Stable housing is not just about four walls and a roof. It provides safety, predictability, and the ability to plan for the future. When paired with housing-focused supports, RAP strengthens long-term stability, reduces returns to homelessness, and improves overall community well-being. A $50 million investment is not simply an expenditure. It's a commitment to preventing homelessness before it occurs, protecting vulnerable residents from destabilizing policy shifts, and ensuring that 3,400 additional households have the opportunity to build stable, productive lives. I respectfully ask this committee to preserve the existing funding and approve the $50 million expansion to serve those without stable housing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next is Greg Kirschner.
Thank you, Senator Austin. Good evening to everyone on the committee. My name is Greg Kirschner. I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Fair Housing Center. We serve the entire state, seeking to increase housing stability and eliminate discrimination as a factor in people's housing choices. I'm here today to ask for additional funding of $300,000 to support our work. The need has increased significantly since 2020, and unfortunately, HUD has abandoned the field and left us to our own devices. Over the past decade, we've brought last 20 years, we've brought more than $10 million of federal funding into the state to combat housing discrimination. But unfortunately, HUD has now signaled that it is no longer interested in civil rights and has eliminated funding for programs such as a grant to advance racial equity. That's not consistent with our mission. It's not consistent with our state commitment to anti-discrimination and to fair housing. And so we can no longer rely on that federal support. I wanted to thank Michael Duffy, who spoke earlier in support of our funding. It's really why we do this. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to work with and support people like him and the thousands of others we interact with every year. I thank you for your time. I know it doesn't feel good for anybody coming to testify when we're testifying and seeing all the other needs that are out there. And I appreciate the difficult work that you have ahead of you. And I would just leave in saying that it is both angering and maddening to see the folks with power and the funding dragging us backwards instead of propelling us forward. But unfortunately, that's the hand we're dealt with at the federal level at the present time. With that, I'll wrap, and thank you very much.
Thank you. So just so everybody knows, I'm going to call a bunch of farmers all up. They're going to do their 3-minute testimony. John Hermanat is next. John, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Senator Austin and members of the Appropriation Committee for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jonathan Hermanat. I'm a partner at Fairholme Farm in Woodstock. I'm a member of the Very Live Connecticut Dairy Coalition, and we are seeking $20 million in funding for the immediate investment in Connecticut dairy farms. Our mission stems from our passion for preserving this industry, not just the farms, but the farmers themselves. I was fortunate enough my young years to grow up on a rented dairy farm in Middlebury, Connecticut. There I witnessed the importance of agriculture plays in our society. My parents' agriculture career shifted, but they stayed close to their roots and their lifestyles farming provides. I love the years I spent working with my parents, starting Econ Kill Turkey Farm and working on the Gray's Dairy Farm. It was there my dream of owning my own farm one day began. After marrying a farmer's daughter in Woodstock, I was blessed to be raising my 3 children and dairy farming with my wife Erica and her family on Fairholme Farm. For me, life has come full circle. Our Centennial Farm operates a kids camp, Hope's Open House, and provides tours to educate public about agriculture. With their transparency, Connecticut dairy farms are bridging the ever-widening gap between consumer and farmer, between the consumer and farmers. Opening their farms to the public is building trust and helping people understand where food comes from. Dairy farming is unlike most industries. We can't shut off milk production during low milk prices or when feed or other costs spike. Cows must be milked every day and bills continue to arrive. At the same time, milk prices are determined by the federal government, and these pricing formulas do not account for the higher cost of milk production in Connecticut. No farmer wants a handout. What we are asking for is a partnership, an investment in preserving an industry that provides value far beyond the farm. Dairy in Connecticut supports nearly 5,000 jobs and generates approximately $2.2 billion in economic impact annually. This economic engine reaches into rural communities, equipment dealers, feed suppliers, veterinarians, processors, and local businesses across the state. Consumers clearly value local farms. During COVID, we saw firsthand how irreplaceable a secure local food supply is. Whole milk is returning to school. High-protein dairy products are in demand. The future is bright, but only if farms survive the present. It is not an exaggeration to say the dairy industry in Connecticut is at a crossroads, a critical moment as the farms in our state struggle, and not for a lack of grit or perseverance. Our coalition, with your support, has outlined a path towards preserving these farms, their legacies, the open space they provide, and a way of life that can't be rebuilt once it is gone. Connecticut leaders have historically shown strong support for agriculture. We are grateful for the Connecticut Farm Bill and other programs. We want to continue farming here and give our children the same opportunity, but we need your support. Together, we can prevent the loss of open land, economic activity, and multi-generational family businesses. And I really appreciate you guys' time and consideration.
Thank you. Up next is James Cricket Jacquier.
Good evening, co-chairs, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, vice chairs, and ranking members. My name is James Cricket Jacquier. I'm a dairy farmer from East Canaan, Connecticut, a member of the Farm Bureau, also on the Agrimark Board of Directors as well, which markets a lot of milk for the dairy farms here in the state of Connecticut. I'm only here because I have the opportunity to have a multi-generation dairy at home. I have the 4th generation. My son is part of that, niece and a couple nephews that are running the operation to allow me to be here this evening. We are here seeking $20 million in funding for immediate investment in Connecticut dairy farms. Connecticut dairy farms are facing unprecedented times with fewer than 80 dairy farms remain in our state. That's a 63% decline from 2005. Milk pricing is regulated at the federal level. I think that's really, really important to bring up here. Milk pricing is regulated at the federal level and provides only minimum pricing for dairy farmers. These prices are impacted by the global supply and demand of commodity products. They don't recognize regional differences, and we are competing with neighboring states and across the United States. It's always been said that farmers are price takers and not price makers, and prices have fallen as much as 25% in the recent years, reaching their lowest levels in a decade and putting Connecticut's generational family dairy farms at risk of closure. It is imperative that we recognize our farms must continue investing in technology, rising labor costs, mandatory environmental compliance regulations, rising machinery costs, and continued investment to meet the needs of our dairy cattle. Your farmers are meeting you 3 times a day at the kitchen table, providing you safe, nutritious dairy products 365 days a year. Connecticut dairy farmers are anticipated to lose 20 million alone in 2026. Statewide, we could lose nearly half of our dairy farms if we don't take the next step without your help. Our farms need both immediate and long-term solutions to keep farms sustainable and to preserve and to protect that rural landscape that you all enjoy. Let's be sure to provide and protect this generation of dairy farmers so we have the opportunity to bring in the next generation, ensuring Connecticut residents food security and communities they enjoy. Please act this session to prevent permanent loss of Connecticut dairy farms by allocating $20 million to the Department of Ag's budget for immediate investment in Connecticut's dairy farms, which in turn immediately boosts the economic impact and output to the state of Connecticut. Thank you for this opportunity to be here this evening.
Thank you, Cricket. Seth Baylor?
Good evening, Senator Austin and Representative Walker and members of the committee. My name is Seth Baylor, and I am a 5th-generation farmer in Ellington, Connecticut. And I appreciate you letting me take the opportunity to speak to you regarding the $20 million. Ellington was once called the milkiest mile in America. There was more dairy farms in Ellington, Connecticut than anywhere else in the country. I have an old-time picture that, or an old-timer put a picture together and wrote down all the names of the families, and there was over 40 dairy farms in Ellington alone. Now there's 2 of us, and I think that speaks to the nature of this urgency that we're going to talk about. So I'm a 135-year-old business. We produce roughly 26,000 gallons of milk every single day. We farm around 3,000 acres of land, and we support a lot of businesses, not only ours, but we have plumbers, electricians, feed companies, equipment dealers. The list goes on. And just starting with $20 million, we are not looking, we don't love handouts, but this is a need to keep farmers in the state of Connecticut. The last 10 years, we have invested around $30 million into our farm, from building a new facility to putting a bottling plant in and putting solar on our roofs. And then we've also partnered with a digester company, and they invested $20 million. So between both of us, we've invested $50 million into our farm to be here long term. But with recent price drops with the federal government, it has made it extremely hard, and that $50 million might not be able to keep us efficient enough to survive another year. So this is very important for us this year. I can go on and on. You've heard a lot from other farmers. I'm happy to answer any questions, but this $20 million is extremely important to keep us dairy farmers alive in the state of Connecticut short term, and working on a long-term solution to really support our industry.
I want you to say one thing, Seth.
Yes.
You get paid from the federal government for your milk. What was the difference between your check this month and a year ago this time?
Yeah, so in 2025, our February milk check was $500,000 more than it was that we got this week. So our price has dropped significantly, and that affects us. So try paying your bills with $500,000 less in 1 month. That's just 1 month.
And and your prices haven't gone down that respective that much.
Not at all.
Thank you. That's what I wanted you to say.
All right.
Stacy Stearns up
Appreciate it.
next. Stacy.
Senator Austin, members of the committee, thank you for the time tonight. You've heard from a lot of my colleagues, so I'm just going to expand on that a little bit more and tell you about our family story. So my name's Stacy Stearns. I'm a member of the 10th generation of Mountain Dairy. We are a producer handler in Mansfield with land in Windham as well. We've got about 1,000 acres there between Mansfield and Windham. So what a producer handler means is that we grow the crops to feed our cows, and then all of the milk that we produce on our farm is bottled on our farm, and then we take it out to our customers through our wholesale and retail home delivery routes. So we've been a part of our community since 1772, older than some other institutions in the same community. And then in 1871, one of my great times 2 or 3, 4 grandfathers started taking his horse and wagon and delivering milk to the community. So for us, we're a family business, but it's not just about our family. It's about the families of the 25 people that work for us. It's about the families in our community that have been part of our family for as many generations as we've been there or who are brand new to our farm. And so for us, we could set the price of our milk differently, but we're affected by that same federal milk price that Cricket and my colleagues were talking about because we want to support our communities. We want everybody in our community, from a young family with kids at home to people on a retiree budget, to be able to afford milk because it is such a good source of protein. It's an essential source of vitamins and minerals. So that's why we get up every day. That's why we're tied to the cows twice a day milking them. And the other really big thing for us is I'm part of the 10th generation, but we want family members 10 generations from now to have the same opportunities that we have. It's that important to us, and that's why we're here supporting dairy and asking for your support this year and for a long-term solution going forward. Again, we'd be happy to answer any questions you have, but since you're hearing from quite a few of us, we appreciate the time.
Thank you. Up next is Art Spielman.
Good evening. I would like to thank co-chairs Senator Austin, Representative Walker, vice chairs, ranking members, members of Appropriations Committee for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Arthur Spielman IV, and I'm a 5th generation dairy farmer, 3rd generation owner of Spielman Farm in Baltic, Connecticut. I'm also the chairman of Very Alive at Connecticut Dairy Coalition. And as you know, we are seeking $20 million in funding immediately into investment into Connecticut dairy farms. Statewide, I believe we will lose over half of our farms without your help. My family and I milk cows 24/7, 365 days a year. We are proud to produce local milk for our communities. But I'm here today because dairy farming in Connecticut is in a crisis. Connecticut dairy farmers are struggling. Today, fewer than 80 dairies remain. When I graduated from Lyman Memorial Ag Program in 2000, there was over 300 dairies in Connecticut. Every time a farm closes, it is not just a business shutting its doors. It's a family losing its livelihood and legacy. Farmland being sold and a piece of our agriculture heritage disappearing. Milk pricing is set as a federal level and is tied to global markets. It is completely out of our control. In recent years, prices have fallen as much as 25 to 30%. Today's milk prices are as low as they were in mid-1990s when my father took over from my grandfather at Spielman Farm. At the same time, our costs of feed, fuel, labor, equipment, electricity, Insurance and fertilizer continue to rise. We cannot simply raise our milk prices to cover these costs. We are price takers, not price makers. The price of milk has fallen so fast in the past year that our checks are $102,000 a month less than they were 1 year ago. In 2020, my grandfather drowned in our pond trying to clean duckweed off of it to improve the water quality of our cows. When my gramps passed, I made a promise to my whole family that I would do anything in my power to keep his legacy alive. So I'm standing here today asking you to support the $20 million to dairy farms so my son, Arthur Spielman V, has a chance to be a dairy farmer and continue his legacy. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you.
Thank you. And I loved your grandfather. He was the best man I knew. Best man I knew.
Thank you.
Up next is going to be Chelsea Ross.
Good evening, Senator Austin and other members of the committee. Good evening, Representative Cavros-DeGraw. My name is Chelsea Ross, Executive Director of the Partnership for Strong Communities, and thank you for the opportunity to testify on HB 5032. We respectfully request that the committee support the governor's $10 million adjustment to maintain the rental assistance program, also known as RAP. We are joining others in asking the legislature to invest an additional $50 million annually to expand RAP by 3,400 new households. I'll start why the governor's baseline adjustment is so important. Connecticut, as you know, does not fund a fixed number of rental assistance vouchers. We fund an annual dollar allocation. So that means as rents rise, the same allocation serves fewer families. And since 2020, rents have increased 29% in our state. The average cost of a voucher has risen from $830 per month to $1,070 per month due to the market. And so the governor's proposed expansion simply keeps the program from shrinking. Without it, we will quietly serve fewer families. That adjustment is so necessary, but it doesn't help the estimated 177,000 low-income households that are eligible for federal or state rental assistance but don't receive it. The RAP waiting list has not opened since 2014. When it last did, 86,000 households applied in just 2 weeks. Only 3,000 were selected by lottery to actually be placed on the waiting list. Currently, 1 in 3 calls to 211 in Connecticut are about housing. In 2025 alone, more than 107,000 calls were people seeking rental assistance, which is an 86% increase since 2020. And these calls came from 98% of the towns across our state. So we've invested in answering the phone, but now we need to invest more in having something to offer those folks who call. And rental assistance is one of the most cost-effective and versatile housing tools that we have. We know that developing more housing in our state as a means to improve affordability is essential, but it takes years. And rental assistance can work immediately. It does work immediately. It uses our existing housing, provides reliable payments to landlords. It allows families to move closer to work, transportation, and their support systems. It can help deepen affordability in new housing developments and stretch our housing dollars further. Rental assistance reduces homelessness. It improves health and educational outcomes and reduces strain on costly and traumatic emergency shelters and hospitals. The $10 million adjustment that the governor proposed keeps the program whole. A $50 million expansion would increase the program's capacity by roughly 50%. It won't solve everything, but it would meaningfully meet the needs of thousands of families who are struggling to afford their existing housing and the valued members of our communities that are experiencing homelessness. So thank you for prioritizing an investment in stability and fiscal responsibility by adequately funding rental assistance. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Drive carefully. Up next is Tiana Ocasio. Is Tiana Ocasio here?
Madam Chair, they're having some difficulty getting here with the weather as well, so they'll be coming soon.
Okay. Next is Corey Gers, online, I believe. Go ahead.
Hi, Senator Austin. Good evening. Sorry for not being there in person. My name is Koray Gers. I'm the Chief Operating and Financial Officer at Mystic Aquarium. First, I express our sincere appreciation to the committee for the financial support we have received in the past. It has been vital to our organization. Given the extraordinary times that we remain in, we respectfully request that legislator increase the amount designated in that line item to $800,000 to help support Mystic Aquarium's animal rescue efforts, the STEM and environmental educational programs that provide opportunities for children and families across the state, campus and facility energy efficiency upgrades. The mission of Mystic Aquarium is to protect aquatic life and empower communities to save our oceans. We live this mission in all we do by providing world-class animal care to our collection of over 300 species of animal ambassadors for wildlife conservation, covering over 1,000 miles of coastline as the only federally recognized animal rescue effort for Connecticut, Rhode Island, and some of New York, educating children and adults of all backgrounds on wildlife and ecosystem conservation, both locally and nationally. Continuing to make improvements to our aging infrastructure to be more energy efficient, conserve water, focus on our research and policy efforts on addressing the biodiversity and climate crisis and conserving marine ecosystem and wildlife. Mystic Aquarium spends more than $50 million annually on goods and services, employing more than 270 people and enlisting over 900 community volunteers and 50 interns annually. We serve around 750 to 800,000 visitors annually. We are the most visited cultural attraction in Connecticut, 5th in New England, and is one of the top 5 aquariums in the country. Mystic Aquarium is the only place in New England where public can see beluga whales. About 55-60% of our visitation is coming from out of state. Out-of-state visitors spend money at local hotels, restaurants, stores, and gas stations in Connecticut, all major contributions to the state revenue. We provide complimentary free admission to EBT card holders. In 2025, it was for around 100,000 EBT card holders with a value of $4 million to the state of Connecticut. We respectfully request your support in increasing the designated budget line item to $800,000. The requested increase will support our animal rescue efforts, educational programs, facility and energy efficiency upgrades, and conservation research. An investment in Mystic Aquarium will be an investment in the future in so many things that make Connecticut great, especially education of our children and tourism. Thank you for your attention and consideration for our request.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Up next, Attorney Podolsky.
Senator Austin, members of the Appropriations Committee, my name is Raphael Podolsky. I'm an attorney with Connecticut Legal Services, and I'm here on behalf of the legal aid programs. I actually have very little to add to several of the witnesses you've heard earlier. I'm here to talk about the need to expand the rental assistance program, and so I'm just going to say a few things about why it is so important. The rental assistance program allows us to focus on prevention rather than on trying to move people out of situations where they've become homeless. People don't become homeless when they're able to pay the rent. There are roughly 20,000 evictions a year filed in Connecticut, and around 90% of them are based on people who've fallen behind in the rent. The existence of a rent subsidy for someone, which is what the rental assistance program provides, it will have a very direct impact in terms of who is able to pay their rent and who's not able to pay their rent. One of the benefits of that program is it's a program that landlords and tenants both can support. And the reason that's necessary is because there's a real mismatch in the economy between how much it costs to maintain housing and how much people earn in order to be able to pay for it. So that in the lower income end of the scale, there are large numbers of people who are paying very large percentages of their income in order to pay rent. And that creates a stress that is really hard to overcome. One of the interesting things that a previous speaker mentioned was about the waiting list. The waiting list for the RAP program was last opened in 2014. We are now 12 years later, and nearly all of the people who were added then, there was 3,000 names added at the time, but there were still names ahead of them on the list from previous years. Almost none of them have actually gotten to the top of the waiting list and received a subsidy 12 years after they applied for one. And in order to even get on that list, they had to be chosen by lottery from 86,000 families that applied. 3,000 got put on a waiting list, and they are still waiting. I only say that to you so that you can see the importance of the program. The governor's put money into the budget, which we are very pleased by, to maintain, in the face of rising rents, to maintain the certificates that are out there now. But what we're asking you to do is make a serious effort, as much as you can handle within the framework of the budget, to bring more people into the program, to allow the waiting list to be reopened, and to meet some of the ongoing need. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to have spoken today.
Thank you. Up next is Sasha Fay. Sasha Fay here. Floor is yours, ma'am.
Dear co-chairs, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. Good evening. My name is Sasha Fay. I'm a West Hartford resident, co-founder of Ovale Coffee, and director of food business for City Seed in New Haven. City Seed engages communities in building a local food system that drives economic development, strengthens neighborhoods, and supports sustainable agriculture. Over the past year, we have experienced meaningful growth thanks to the partnerships with the Departments of Agriculture and Economic and Community Development. We are especially grateful for the support provided through this year's DECD budget. I am here to share the impact of this investment and respectfully request restoration of the full funding originally allocated for next year so we can continue to expand this critical work. My journey with City Seed began at the Big Connecticut Food Event at the Yale School of Management, where I saw firsthand how City Seed convenes, connects, and uplifts emerging food businesses, mine included. When I later joined the team, I was eager to bring my experience to all of the entrepreneurs that we work with. In today's economy, supporting small businesses, the backbone of our communities, has never been more important. Today, I help oversee a network of 800 emerging food businesses, most owned by women, immigrants, and people of color. By lowering barriers to entry, we help entrepreneurs formalize, grow, and contribute to Connecticut's economy. One powerful example is Jamil Bowen of Grillmont Island. Jamil began with a food truck using our shared kitchen. Today, with support from City Seed and Executive Director Sarah Miller, Fairhaven Alder, who's also here today, he has been able to open a thriving brick and mortar facility in Fairhaven, bringing jobs, vibrancy, and some of the best Jamaican jerk chicken in Connecticut. Stories like Jamil's reflect what's possible when entrepreneurs have success and have access to it. Stronger businesses, stronger neighborhoods, and a more resilient local food economy. Yet our region is constrained by having only one shared use kitchen in New Haven, Dixwell Avenue. With the support from the Community Investment Fund, we acquired 162 James Street, a former factory we are transforming into a shared use commercial kitchen, which will have access for more entrepreneurs to have more kitchen space, which will be amazing. Since 2021, City Seed has generated $10 million in economic activity with limited infrastructure. Imagine what we can accomplish with a mission-built facility designed for food entrepreneurs and community connection. Maintaining last year's DECD funding level is essential to sustaining this momentum. We respectfully urge you to restore the full DECD budget, and thank you for your partnership and your time today.
Thank you. Up next is Robert LaFrance.
glasses. Sorry about that. Good evening, Chairs Austin and Walker, Ranking Members Summers and Nuccio, and the rest of the members of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you for having me. My name is Robert LaFrance, and I'm the Director of Policy for the National Audubon Society. We have offices here in Connecticut and New York and across the country. I'm here to testify on the governor's budget adjustments, specifically requesting re-examination of some of a request we made at the beginning of the biennium. We have a number of programs, both in the urban setting and in the rural setting, to deal with youth. The first program is our wildlife guard program, where we work with youth in the cities to try and educate them about wildlife, get them out on the beaches, get them out, explain to them the ecosystems, and try and give them real life work experience. For many of these people we work with, these youth that we work with, this is their first job. It's their first opportunity to understand about how to come to work and work collaboratively with other folks. The other program we have is a Junior Forest Technology Program, which really is more aimed at rural people, working with the folks at the technical and the vocational agricultural schools to get education about how to work in forestry and to learn more about the forest technical programs. We're asking for some funding for this. We tried to get it last year. We were unsuccessful. We're bringing it back, and I provided written testimony which gives a lot more detail about what we're looking for here. Earlier today, you heard from the Commissioner of Environmental Protection about some of the things that she's doing, and I want to thank you very much for the amount of effort you've put on NCON police officers. I think it's really important that we continue to fund them at the level and maybe beyond. What I'm understanding is the NCON officers, although the level is good right now, there may be some fall off if people retire. These are jobs that are difficult, and we may be losing some folks. So I was very happy to hear the Commissioner talk about a report that she's going to give you. I look forward to seeing that and talking about that with you. The other thing I would like to ask for the agency, for this Appropriations Committee to think about, is hiring a wildlife veterinarian at the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. If folks remember, how did we get COVID? We got COVID from what we thought are bats. Now we're finding that avian influenza is moving from birds to bobcats. It's moving from birds to other mammals, and we don't have anybody right now working with that issue at the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. So the notion of hiring a wildlife veterinarian in that program, I think, is critically important. We have a bill that's going to ask that in the Environment Committee. It has been raised as a concept. I don't have language yet, but I'll follow up with the committee to give you more information on that. And the last thing I want to say, because I heard you say about this, Senator Austin, we also agree with bear management. We think it's an important element. But you can still feed birds in the winter, right? When the bears are hibernating, that's when the birds need your food. They really, so you really need to do that in the winter for them. That's when they need it. In the spring, they should really be eating insects anyway. So if you have bears in your area, you don't want to feed them. You don't want bird feeders out there. But it's also, you can feed them in the winter when the bears are hibernating, just to remember that.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, they don't. That's a very valid point. And they can come out. There's no question about it. They den. That's a fair point, and I would totally agree with you.
Most of the bears in my neighborhood stay in the woods.
That's where you want them. That's where we all want them. A wild bear is a good bear.
Exactly, I agree. Up next is Tiana Ocasio online. Tiana Ocasio. Thank you, Bob. Tiana Ocasio. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chairwoman Austin, Chairwoman Walker, Ranking Member Sommers, Ranking Member Nuccio, and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Tiana Ocasio, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 478, regarding Governor Lamont's proposed 2027 budget revisions as they relate to the Department of Labor. As the referral manager for Local 478, I am interacting daily with both our members and the Department of Labor regarding pending claims for unemployment insurance. The International Union of Operating Engineers represents over 20,000 workers throughout the Northeast region. More than 3,000 of them reside in Connecticut as members of Local 478. We appreciate the governor's proposed 2026 to 2027 biennium budget, which increased staffing to our wage and workplace standard divisions in these uncertain times. Having a robust and efficient labor department is crucial for our state's workforce. This is why we also need a meaningful infusion of money to maintain the current staffing levels within our unemployment compensation division. We respectfully urge the Appropriations Committee to increase the state's investment to $10 million to help offset the costs of recent ongoing reductions in the federal funding for UI administration. Over just the last 2 federal fiscal years, Connecticut has experienced well over $10 million in reductions to federal administrative funding for the unemployment insurance program, including base grant reductions and the loss of temporary federal resources that had previously supported staffing and modernization efforts. These reductions were outside of the state's control and reflect a broader trend of declining federal investment in the UI system. The need, however, is only increasing. Since much of our work is seasonal and work stoppages during the coldest months, our members rely on UI as a safety net. Many of our members reach out to me regarding their unemployment issues. With less job centers available and having to sometimes wait for 2 weeks for a call back, they can get frustrated. And most of the issues that I see are members getting locked out of the system. Sometimes they have to wait 4 to 5 weeks to finally start receiving their payments. Work exemption issues, needing to support a backdated week claim, or issues adding a dependent, problems with their holiday pay, or numerous calls regarding an issue on file. Because if I was personally filing for unemployment and for 2 weeks it kept showing me that there was an issue on file, I too would believe that there was a problem. An investment of $10 million would ensure continuity of service, stabilize staffing levels, and support ongoing system improvements of the UI Trust Fund. This investment would protect workers, support responsible employers, and preserve a core pillar of Connecticut's economy safety net at a time when the federal resources are becoming less reliable. The Operating Engineers Local 478 respectfully urges the Appropriations Committee to increase the funding in HB 5032 to help offset federal cuts to Unemployment Insurance Administration and to ensure that the Connecticut UI system remains responsive, reliable, and strong. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Up next is Caroline Sloat. Is Caroline Sloat here? Up next is Sarah Miller. Sarah Miller here? There you go, Sarah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us on a rainy Friday. My name is Sarah Miller. I'm a lifelong New Haven resident, and I serve as Executive Director of City Seed. You have heard from some of my colleagues tonight. We are our city's pioneering food justice organization. City Seed is now in its 22nd year of operation and plays a critical role in strengthening Connecticut's food system, expanding local food access, and developing our local economy. We are deeply grateful for our state partnerships, including with the Departments of Ag and DECD, and especially for urgently needed support provided via the DECD budget this year. So I'm here to share a little bit more about our work and request that you restore the full funding that was originally allocated for next year in order to continue our program and service expansion. We operate year-round farmers markets, if you heard. We also have a food business incubator you heard about from Sasha. And last year, our social enterprise Sanctuary Kitchen expanded support for recent refugees and immigrants as they build careers in the food industry. The Culinary Workforce Training Program provides hands-on learning in culinary arts, English language skills, food safety certification, and workforce readiness in a supportive, inclusive environment. Through skill building, mentorship, and paid work experience, last year Sanctuary Kitchen helped 21 of our new neighbors move towards stable employment, financial independence, and career growth in the culinary field, and we are expanding this year with the goal of 30 additional trainees. Our region is constrained, however, by the presence of just one shared use commercial kitchen in the city of New Haven, which City Seed operates at the Dixwell Q House. Thanks to state and partnership, we have taken strides this year toward closing this gap. In 2024, the Community Investment Fund made it possible for City Seed to purchase a former factory at 162 James Street in New Haven. And thanks to continuing state investment, we've now developed concrete plans for transforming the facility into a shared use commercial kitchen and food business incubator. During 2025, last year, we conducted a broad and inclusive landscape and needs assessment, developed our financial model, drafted our SOPs and process flows, and this year we're proceeding toward full construction drawings with the aim to break ground in 2027 and hopefully welcome you all to a new facility in 2028. The Food Business Incubator and Food Hub at 162 James Street brings together the experience, partnerships, and lessons of 2 decades to create something that New Haven has never had before, a central hub of food entrepreneurship, culinary education, distribution, and community building. This new chapter will also bring City Seed's work together in one place, deepening our roots and opening more doors to farmers, chefs, and neighbors to grow and connect through food. So continued support at the level committed in last year's DECD budget is really critical to our continued progress in this work. So we ask that you reverse the governor's proposed cut and enable City Seed to continue our forward momentum in partnership with Connecticut's farmers, entrepreneurs, chefs, and families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Up next, Hannah Yacob.
Okay, good evening, members of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you so much for your time today. My name is Hina Yacoub, and I am a psychiatrist and member of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So you've heard from a lot of my colleagues and allied organizations today for the same ask that I'm going to make with regards to the housing budget. So I will try to keep things short and sweet from my perspective. And we will go from there. So today I am here to talk about my experiences as a mental health professional in New Haven, which has consisted of treating many individuals with both serious mental illness and substance use disorders. Firsthand, I have witnessed the absolutely devastating effects of homelessness in New Haven in particular on both the physical and mental well-being of our community members. An estimated 1 in 4 adults experiencing unsheltered homelessness tend to have either mental illness or substance use disorder. But what I want us to all remember and think about are the other 3 in 4 adults who are experiencing homelessness, but who do not have a mental illness or issues with substance use. So the point that I would really like to drive home today, and as a reminder for everyone, is that regardless of mental health status, many unhoused individuals typically have histories marked by poverty or other types of social disadvantage, which perpetuates a very vicious cycle of housing instability. Both national and Connecticut data show that housing affordability is one of the main drivers of homelessness. And so, unfortunately, efforts to combat homelessness have been limited by chronic underinvestment over time. We are very grateful that this year's budget includes investments towards homelessness and housing stability. These funds are absolutely so vital and important and reflect a recognition of this public health crisis. But to us, they also represent a starting point and not necessarily a full solution scaled to meet the needs of our community. So as many of my colleagues have already mentioned today, we respectfully ask the committee to consider increasing the appropriation within the housing budget to $123.9 million annually to reflect the full coordinated statewide investment needed to meet this moment. And I have submitted written testimony, so I won't go into all the nitty-gritty details that I've included there, but happy to speak with people afterwards if they would like. But I think with your help, we can ensure that we have the funding to meet the needs of our neighbors and to create a path going forward for resolving homelessness in the state. I want to thank you all on the committee for your hard work on behalf of Connecticut and for your kind attention today. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we're going to go to Monica Nugent. Monica.
Good evening, Senator Austin and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Monica Nugent. I'm the Manager of Public Policy and Advocacy at the Connecticut Community Nonprofit Alliance. The Alliance is the statewide association of community nonprofits. Community nonprofits provide essential services to over 500,000 individuals and families in Connecticut every year, improving the quality of life in communities across the state. I am here to thank you for the increases included in the enacted budget for fiscal year 27 and to request that you increase funding for vital nonprofit programs by $155 million in fiscal year 27. Funding the homeless response system is a critical portion of this requested increase. We appreciate the governor proposing an increase of $6.7 million in new RAPs and $5 million to maintain cold weather funding, but these amounts still fall short of the need. The current system remains critically underfunded and demand for services continue to rise. As you've heard the statistics earlier this evening, Connecticut is seeing an increase in homelessness and especially a 45% increase in just the last year of unsheltered homelessness. This means that more people across the state are living outside. This isn't just another statistic, it signifies a public health emergency. With an increase in funding, nonprofits can meet the needs of our neighbors and communities. Nonprofit providers deliver prevention, diversion, outreach, shelter, and housing-focused services every day. Funding increases will ensure that these services are not just protected and stabilized for existing capacity, but that investments can be made to improve system performance. Lastly, nonprofits are facing an unprecedented uncertainty regarding federal funding for certain programs and services. The Continuum of Care program, while still being argued in our courts, has delayed first quarter payments to organizations providing homelessness services. With the help of this body and the governor's office, payments were able to be made from the emergency fund to help organizations continue to offer vital services. This example illustrates not only the uncertainty that organizations are facing, but also that investments from the legislature can ensure that our safety net, once stretched, does not break. Connecticut has always charted its own path, and nonprofits have benefited greatly from the bipartisan support of the members of this committee. With the help of the legislature, we can ensure that the homeless response system has the funding to meet the needs, creating a strategic pathway forward towards solving homelessness in our state. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Kyle McSwegan, number 66. Just so the people online know what we're doing, we're trying to give people an opportunity to get home that are here, and we're trying to get them out off of the roads. So it's pouring out up here.
Well, much appreciated. Good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to have the chance to be a part of this process. I've also quite enjoyed trying to guess who was a farmer and who was an arts professional. It's tough to tell with some of those hip arts guys, you know. So my name's Kyle McSwegan, and I'm here with the Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants. We are a refugee resettlement organization that offers comprehensive services, employment, youth, and a variety of things to folks that come from all over the world. And just this past quarter, we served just shy of 900 individuals, and that would be people from Colombia, El Salvador, Haiti, Syria, Ukraine, South Africa, and Afghans. I primarily work with Afghans in my program in our office in New Haven. We also provide immigration legal services to about 5,000 individuals per year. As you, I'm sure, are well aware, the policies coming from the federal level greatly impacted the refugee program, and things slowed down quite a bit last year. But even still, our agency welcomed about 230 or so new clients. And my aim tonight is to contribute to the housing discussion by speaking to some of the specific challenges faced by refugees and new arrivals in general. When a client is coming to our agency from overseas, we receive an assurance, and we're told maybe a couple weeks in advance if we're lucky, if someone's coming, although sometimes it's a couple days notice. Those people have maybe been waiting for years, maybe up to a decade, being vetted, going through various security checks and health checks and so on. But we've got our work cut out for us in preparing for someone's arrival, not least of which is housing. And as you can imagine, it's difficult to convince a landlord to rent to somebody who is not yet in the country. We don't have their ID yet. They don't have a work history. I mean, their work history may have been supporting our service members in Afghanistan for a decade, but that doesn't mean a lot on a conventional application here. And of course, entering the country with not a average credit score, but a zero credit score. So those people can appear quite unusual to your typical landlord. So we have a housing team that works very hard to cultivate relationships with people, willing to rent to the folks that we serve. And for the most part, they're all very lovely people. But as you can imagine, sometimes you find landlords that are willing to overlook these standards, and then later down the line, it shouldn't be a surprise when we have difficulty getting housing codes enforced and working with our people. So sometimes the mainstream housing assistance programs, our folks aren't always eligible for them based on their status, or they're unable to access them in a timely fashion. We've talked about wait lists tonight. The really crucial time for our folks is within the first few months of their arrival, the first few years. So I just wanted to contribute tonight by emphasizing the particular needs of those folks that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Robert Murdoch, number 75. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you again for this opportunity to speak tonight. And also thank you for being here to listen as well. Really appreciate that. My name is Bob Murdoch. I'm the president of the Connecticut Convention and Sports Bureau. We're based in Middletown, and I live in Clinton. The Connecticut Convention and Sports Bureau, also known as CT Meetings, is Connecticut's only statewide meetings and sports event sales and marketing organization. Our mission is to attract conventions, meetings, and sports events to Connecticut, which generate economic growth for the state and its regions. Less than a year ago, I was sitting here, and our bureau was facing existential crisis. We would have ceased operations without legislative action, and I want to thank this committee for their help in securing a line item for our bureau for FY26 and FY27 so that we can continue our role generating business for the state. So thank you again. For tonight, I really want to speak on behalf of long-term consistent funding for arts, culture, and tourism sectors. The tourism and hospitality industries are revenue generators for the state. Investment in tourism does not compete with other priority programs, a lot of which we heard from tonight, but could instead help to pay for them. To quote Senator Austin from yesterday's Hartford Business Journal, studies show for every dollar that we spend on tourism, we get $9 in return. And in a separate study from the one that, probably a separate study from what Senator Austin was quoting, this return on investment in terms of tax revenue generated, that money comes to the state within a year to a year and a half. So it's not 10 years from now we're going to get this return on investment. We're going to get it pretty much right away. So it's a significant returns within a very short period of time. And again, tourism doesn't compete with these other priority projects, but instead we can help to pay for them. And I think that's more important than ever. We're looking for funds to pay for things, invest in tourism, arts, and culture. The group that I represent, CT Meetings, was established in 2012 by the Connecticut state government to generate business for the state's convention and hospitality industry. Our primary funding comes from our line item in the tourism fund, which is at $500,000 for this fiscal year that we're in now, and also for fiscal year 27. We also generate between $180,000 to $200,000 in private sector support. So we're trying to raise that money now. We're working on growing our private sector support, but our public support is vital for our existence. And again, I am very grateful for the funding, but I've heard from hearing from a lot of the arts folks in front of me, this funding level is what we were funded in 2016. So we're 10 years with the same funding, trying to pay bills, which have obviously gone up. So, we help bring events in. A few events coming in this year. In 2026, that haven't happened yet. Eastern States Business Officials Federation, Geological Society of America, Society for College and University Planning, Medtronic Vascular, American Quilter Society, USA BMX, Healthcare Financial Management Association, and Lockheed Martin. So a lot of big events that we help bring in, and we also help assist with UConn basketball parade, and we're hoping we get a couple of those coming up as well. So again, just asking for continued support of tourism, arts, and culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next is Amy Blaymore Patterson. And will be followed by Elizabeth Donius.
Thank you. Here I am. My legs fell asleep. Hopefully the rest of me is still awake here. Thank you. For the record, Amy Blaymore Patterson. I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Land Conservation Council. Thank you, Senator Austin and members of this committee, for all that you do and for hearing me tonight. In addition to my role at CLCC, I'm also honored to be the chair of the state's Natural Heritage, Open Space, and Watershed Land Acquisition Review Board, and we provide input and oversight for DEEP's Land Acquisition Management Office in the implementation of the land conservation programs. I'm here tonight to ask for 2 dedicated positions for the Land Acquisition Management Office, specifically to support the Open Space and Watershed Land Acquisition Grant Program and the Urban Green and Community Garden Program. OSWA is DEEP's matching grants program for land trusts, municipalities, and water companies for land conservation projects, and the Urban Green and Community Garden Program is also a matching grants program, and it's for municipalities and now nonprofits for projects in targeted, distressed, and environmental justice communities for green space development. For the last few sessions, this Connecticut General Assembly has passed amendments to the OSWA statute, which includes the UGCG program, that has been aimed at increasing efficiencies and increasing access to both of those programs. Just this morning, I testified in favor of DEEP's proposal for 2 more of those changes. And I will tell you that they are working. They are driving demand. These changes are driving demand to both of those programs. And the numbers for the UGCG program, the Urban Green program, are staggering in particular. I've submitted written testimony. It outlines those changes, and it also provides you with some of those numbers that I'm alluding to now. But there's one that I didn't put in there, and it didn't occur to me until yesterday when I was looking at them in total, that since 2007, for the Urban Green and Community Garden Program, $3.4 million was awarded to 50 projects in 22 municipalities, which is terrific, since 2007. After these changes have been put into effect, just in 2025 alone, the numbers for UGCG were record-breaking. 18 applications were received, asking for $3 million plus in project costs. That's incredible in just one application round, never seen before. And I've been doing this a long time. It's thrilling to see that. It's thrilling to see the programs working. Yet, within that office, with only 6 staff anyway, down from 11 from 2008, 6 staff, only 1 is dedicated to the OSWA grant program. No employee is dedicated exclusively for the UGCG program. That position is shared for different tasks. And there's only 1 surveyor for the entire agency. And of course, surveying is critical to the OSWA program. So again, in all my years here, I've been asking for this, and never have I felt more of a sense of urgency and more of a sense of excitement to get those positions put in place to support these programs that are doing so much for every community in Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted you to know, Amy, I worked with the OSWA and was able to preserve in perpetuity 800 acres in Sprague. Fantastic program.
It is, and I'm happy to provide data for every district in Connecticut that has benefited from both OSWA and UGCG.
I think people would really like that. Next from inside the building is Elizabeth Donius. There you go, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I was dead last on the list, so I'm really glad for this turn of events. Senator Austin, Representative Walker, and esteemed members of the Appropriations Committee, I would like to thank the committee for their ongoing support of the Westville Village Renaissance Alliance, an organization central to the economic vitality and cultural identity of Westville Village. Westville Village is a historic commercial district in New Haven that is known and loved for its art scene and its strong community spirit. WVRA plays many critical roles in keeping Westville vibrant through business recruitment, advocacy and support, streetscape maintenance and investment, marketing efforts to define our identity as a creative, diverse, and family-friendly community, and through a formidable slate of community events that draw thousands of visitors annually. In recent years, Westville has thrived and grown, and our ongoing efforts have been critical to this success. Two current focuses are working with city partners to ensure that a critical lot in the center of the village becomes a mixed-use development that incorporates significant public space, and facilitating grants for independent restaurants on Whaley Avenue from Westville Village through the city line with Woodbridge. Thank you again for your critical support. We will continue to recruit and support, amplify, and advocate for Westville while providing our vibrant community with opportunities to come together and celebrate in every way we can. And I forgot to say that I'm the executive director of said Westville Village Renaissance Alliance, and we are very, very grateful for all of the support that we get from the state. So thank you.
Up next is Louis Gill. Louis Gill online. For those of you who want to go home that are here, please do so. It's raining. Tim, you can go if you want. Louis Gill, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Good evening to the committee members. My name is Louis Gill. I am the CEO of Columbus House. We're a nonprofit organization that provides services to our homeless neighbors. We operate in 3 different counties. We do everything from emergency shelters, both for singles and families, outreach, veteran services, a number of supportive services for our neighbors. Recent cold weather additions to what we do have been a warming center we opened in Hamden, an emergency shelter for cold weather in Wallingford, and an additional family shelter, 40 beds, opened in New Haven. I will tell you, having recently relocated from California, and this being my first New England winter, you guys are showing off a little bit, and you can go ahead and slow down. It has significantly stressed our system, the number of days that we've been in cold weather protocol, having to care for individuals 24/7. I do want to thank the state for the additional extreme weather funding that was provided this year. But as we have had such extended cold weather, those resources still do not meet the need. As was stated earlier by one of my colleagues, we know that we've already lost somewhere around 20 people this year. I'm here to support the Connecticut CAN legislative agenda. It's comprised of 3 well-planned and executable parts of prevention, responding, and housing individuals. I won't go over all the causes and repeat all the statistics that have already been expressed to the committee. My colleagues have done a very eloquent and thorough job. But I will remind us that we've seen a 45% increase in unsheltered in our state, and that unfortunately our system is resourced only enough so that 18% of the people coming into our system are able to receive housing assistance and support. And so the difficult part of this is that we have to accept that no help is coming federally. That's not where we're going to get the ability to solve this problem. We're going to have to tackle this locally. So I would respectfully urge the committee to support the request for the resources necessary. Some of my colleagues have expressed that this is a significant ask, but I don't believe that there needs to be any apology for those of us doing the work and knowing what is needed to care for people that are truly in life-threatening situations. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Up next is Sarah Callahan. Go ahead, Sarah.
All right. Well, good evening, members of the Appropriations, Conservation and Development Committee Subcommittee. My name is Sarah Callan. I serve as the manager of the Animal Rescue Program at Mystic Aquarium. I've been there for 10 years, and during my 10 years with the aquarium, I've witnessed firsthand the critical importance a marine mammal and sea turtle stranding response program plays in protecting marine life in coastal communities of Connecticut and Long Island Sound. We are the only organization that's federally authorized to respond to stranded marine mammals and sea turtles in the entire state. And the continuation of our program's efforts is really essential to the health of our marine ecosystem as well as the safety of the public. Originally from Hamden, Connecticut, Mystic Aquarium was the place that first inspired me and my love for marine mammals. I traveled across the country to gain experience and specialized training in the field, and I've returned home to help protect the same animals that helped inspire me in my career today. It's an honor to advocate for and be a voice for these stranded marine animals along our shoreline, and it's a responsibility that requires adequate and sustained funding as well. You may recall a seal named Chappie that stranded on the streets of New Haven just last year, or may have heard about a recent case of a stranded seal that hauled out in Stratford just yesterday. Our team operates a 24-hour hotline and returns every call that we receive because it's a great outreach and education opportunity. In the past year alone, we've received 497 hotline calls, responded to 203 stranded marine mammals, and we've admitted 24 sea turtles and 31 seals for rehabilitation. Behind each of those numbers are hours of field response, medical care, diagnostics, food, and staff time, and these services are very resource intensive and are growing more and more complex each year. Most cases that we respond to require coordination with municipalities, environmental protection agencies, and animal control officers. These cases aren't just something you can hop into. They require trained personnel, specialized equipment, transport capabilities, and around-the-clock staffing. Our network of more than 500 trained first responder volunteers is incredible, and we appreciate every one of them so much, but volunteers alone can't sustain a program of the scale that we operate at, with the infrastructure, professional oversight, and financial resources that are necessary to operate effectively and safely. Over the past decade, we've observed a significant shift in species distribution and stranding trends within our coverage area. Warming waters are driving fish closer to shore. In turn, that brings marine mammals and sea turtles closer to shore and making them more susceptible to that human interaction and activity. We've had dolphins in Long Island Sound this past year, seals from the Arctic that are seen along the Connecticut shoreline, as well as sea turtles that are reported hooked in Bridgeport and West Haven. With all these growing numbers of cases, it's brought on a lot of new challenges and additional resource demands. I'd like to think every animal tells a story about the health of our environment. We see firsthand the impacts of pollution, chemical runoff, marine debris, vessel strikes on these cases. The data that we collect from every stranding case really informs conservation strategies from public education and long-term environmental planning for the state. I just respectfully request the increase in funding to $800,000 for our program so we can really help the animals within our state and continue being the only marine mammal response program that the state has. So thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, have a nice night.
Thank
Up next
you.
is Kellyanne Day. Is Kellyanne Day on? Kellyanne, the floor is yours. Kellyanne? Up next is,
Services.
there you go,
What?
Kelly.
Did you lose me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Kellyanne Day. I'm the CEO of New Reach, an organization that has been providing homeless prevention, emergency service, and supportive housing since 1990. I live in New Haven. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of the Connecticut Canton Homelessness 26 legislative agenda, including both the coordinated budget investments and the policy changes. I'm here tonight because we are experiencing a real housing crisis. There are very few homes for sale. The rental market is tight. Therefore, the rents are high. And
I don't know where you went, Kellyanne. Hello. Okay. Joe, The floor is yours, Joe.
Hi. Oh, she's back.
She's back. Kellyanne, go ahead.
Uh,
Can you hear us?
I was in the middle of talking and sorry. According to the Partnership for Strong Communities, the state is experiencing a severe housing crisis with a shortage of 120,000 to 380,000 units, driving demand for rentals. While the exact number of individuals who rent is not explicitly updated for 26, roughly half of all Connecticut renters are cost burdened. The average rent in Connecticut is nearly $2,000 a month, and you typically have to earn about $35 an hour to afford a two-bedroom. As a provider of homeless prevention and emergency services, I can testify that these facts have contributed. I'm back. I appreciate the governor's budget included investment in homelessness and housing stability. Those dollars matter and they reflect recognition of urgency, but I respectfully urge the legislator to adopt a coordinated annual investment package of $123.9 million. We will not address the issue of homelessness if we only invest in part of a system and not the entire system. I know that prevention works. I've seen it. Our ask for $10 million for a housing crisis fund is critical to helping people remain stably housed. Once someone loses their housing, bad things can happen. First, the shortage of housing previously stated, the chances of finding a place to live are slim. Second, unstable housing causes stress, anxiety, and often the loss of jobs and income. And third, homelessness severely impacts health by causing or exacerbating chronic disease, often resulting in a lifespan reduction of an average of 12 years. If we invest in flexible funding, we can help to keep people in housing, decreasing the number of people coming into emergency shelter. The prevention of homelessness is only one. And the end.
Kelly, you got to wrap it up.
I did, but I got cut off again. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Joe, it's you.
Thank you. I put a quarter in the payphone, so we might be all right. So, good evening, co-chairs. Good evening, co-chairs Austin and Walker. My name is Joe Toner, and members of the committee. My name is Joe Toner. I am the executive director with the Connecticut State Building Trades Council, and I'd like to advocate tonight for this committee to consider increasing the Department of Labor's budget $10 million for UI. And while I know Tiana spoke earlier for us, for the operating engineers, I think I want to just explain the process a little bit. I think it might help the folks making these decisions. So back before COVID, the UI division of Department of Labor was always understaffed. Enough money never came in from the federal government to make sure people are working in that department to get the benefits out to the folks in the state of Connecticut. So what's happened during COVID, it was as bad as COVID was. It was good for us, for our members collecting unemployment, because the rest of the state of Connecticut would not tolerate waiting 5 or 6 weeks to get an unemployment check. So subsequently, the UI fund was shored up, it was staffed properly, and people received their benefits. Since COVID has ended and the federal cuts have came in, we are struggling to get our members paid timely for the unemployment compensation that they justly earned. These folks have worked the hours, they have the earnings, they have the quarters to collect the money. Our partners in the industries have paid in to the fund, and the problem is there's not enough staff to process the claims. So if you get laid off and you file a claim, right now it's anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, and that's if there's no questions on the claim. And Tiana brought it up a little bit earlier. If there's any questions on the unemployment claim, then they have to go to another step, and then they need staff to look at that claim to process it. That could take up to 5 weeks. So really, I mean, for our folks to wait 5 or 6 weeks to get paid for an unemployment claim for 1 week. It's unsustainable in the state of Connecticut. So we're asking for an increase of $10 million to the budget for the Department of Labor for UI, and it's not to shore it up. It's to mitigate the losses that they're anticipating by not getting the federal money in. So it's very important. I kind of look back and I would say to myself, would you imagine if our parents or our grandparents weren't getting the Social Security check that they needed to survive because we didn't have the staff to get the checks out to them? That's what it is for us. In many cases, our families in the building trades, that's the only check that's coming in, for the household. And if you have to wait 5, 6, 7 weeks to get an unemployment check, you can't sustain. So I know there's a lot of asks. I know a lot of people are asking for a lot of things. I think if we could help fill this void for the Department of Labor, it would go a long way. It would help keep our people made whole for the benefits they deserve. Thank you for the consideration and the time.
Thanks, Joe. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Up next is Kismet Douglas. Is Kismet there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Hi. My name is Kismet Douglas, and I'm a New Haven born chef with my own catering business, Mama Kiss Kitchen Cuisine, which offers gourmet soul food, catering, and meal prep. I prepare all my food at the City Seed Incubator Kitchen, is for whom I'm speaking on behalf of, to restore City Seed funding for next year so that they can continue to support food entrepreneurs like me. I developed my passion for cooking at home, preparing meals for my family, and posting on social media. And City Seed has supported and developed the development of my business through their food business accelerator, and then through access to the shared kitchen at Dixwell Q House. I also sell weekly at City Seed Farmers Markets and love to use local ingredients from the markets in my dishes. Through involvement with City Seed, I expanded Mama Kiss Kitchen Cuisine beyond its beginnings. The support and service helped me build confidence, navigate licensing, and showcase my food at farmers markets and community events. My journey with City Seed exemplifies how the organization's food business incubator ecosystem fosters entrepreneurial growth, especially for local chefs and cooks turning passion into sustainable enterprise. Please reverse the governor's funding cut and restore City Seed funding so that they can continue to provide support services to help Connecticut food businesses get off the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for coming on. Up next is Zenaida Martinez. Is Zenaida Martinez on, number 57? No? Up next is Michelle Condorino.
Condorino, that's correct. Thank you, esteemed members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Michelle Condorino. I am the CEO of Open Doors in Norwalk and a Reading resident. I'm here today to join my peers in the homeless response system to advocate for the increase in funding to ensure we do not lose a decade's worth of progress in solving homelessness. I would specifically like to address the $12.3 million funding request to bring those in the experience of homelessness into safety during extreme weather conditions. Connecticut's homeless response system is one of the most efficient and effective systems in the country, but the unprecedented number of people falling into homelessness has extended our system beyond capacity. And extreme weather conditions, both cold weather and extreme heat, place Connecticut's residents at risk of death. Open Doors is currently providing 38 year-round shelter beds and opened an additional 8 beds for the cold weather season. Due to the extreme weather conditions we have experienced this winter, Open Doors has provided shelter to an additional 62 individuals since December 1st, and we are looking at another significant storm this weekend. Without resources, we cannot continue to live up to our name. Connecticut's homeless response system has faced crisis and chaos before, most recently through the COVID-19 pandemic. But when properly resourced, we are nimble, creative, and strategic, and we can achieve incredible outcomes. Let's meet this moment of crisis and chaos with organization and intention, and support those in the experience of homelessness by ensuring they have the opportunity to survive long enough to reconnect to housing and move forward with their lives. Thank you very much, and please get home safely.
You stay warm. Up next, we have Erin Boggs. Is Erin Boggs?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, Erin.
Right. Thank you to the members of the subcommittee for being here on this cold winter night, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify. My name is Erin Boggs. I'm the Executive Director of Open Communities Alliance, a civil rights organization dedicated to ensuring that all residents of Connecticut have the opportunity to live in thriving communities of their choice. The Rental Assistance Program, or RAP, provides rental subsidies to income qualifying households who manage to make it off a very long wait list. It provides them with assistance with a portion of their rent that is over and above a third of their income. My organization is particularly interested in supporting RAP, not only because it provides essential resources to families, but also because it includes some special provisions intended to ensure that participants have true choices in where they live and they're not restricted to the highest poverty census tracts in the state. I am joining others here tonight to speak out about HB 5032 with a request that the committee increase the investment in RAP to by $50 million a year, $10 million of additional funding to keep level funding for our 6,400 RAP households currently, and an additional $40 million to allow the program to meet our urgent housing needs, including an anticipated federal reductions by adding 3,400 additional RAPs. In 2025, Connecticut took a big step forward by kicking off a structure allowing all municipalities to plan and zone for greater affordability, but that will take several years to address what is in fact an urgent need right now. Rents have increased by 29% since 2020. Not surprisingly, so have the costs for the RAP program. At the same time, demand is off the charts. About 177,000 families in Connecticut income qualify for RAP but do not receive the benefit. The last time the RAP rate waiting list opened was about 12 years ago, and then there were 68,000 applications. When we don't address restrictions on building moderately priced housing, it becomes very expensive to address our deep housing needs. That is part of the reason we need to drastically increase our investment in RAP. Without such investment, homelessness will rise, evictions will increase, and families will not have families will have severely restricted opportunities to live in neighborhoods that they choose as best for their families. Thank you for the chance to talk tonight.
Thank you. Kelly Fitzgerald.
Good evening, everyone. Senator Austin and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Kelly Fitzgerald. I'm a Cheshire resident and serve as Vice President of Financial Stability at United Way of Greater New Haven, where I support families who are both in a housing and income crisis. I'm here today to testify in support of the Connecticut Can't End Homelessness agenda. The Connecticut data confirms that the main driver of homelessness is housing affordability. This affects residents in rural, suburban, and urban communities across the state. With homelessness growing at an alarming rate, we must move beyond Band-Aid approaches and invest fully in a coordinated effort to prevent, respond, and house, which will require increasing the appropriation from $33.5 million to $123.9 million annually. I want to highlight one specific element of this investment that would prevent homelessness and help people secure housing faster, namely the $3.1 million for employment navigation. We know from talking with people struggling to find housing and afford housing that they need and appreciate assistance when the bottom drops out. But the fact of the matter is they want to work and be able to afford housing on their own. For this to happen, we need more employment services that are specifically tailored to the needs of the homeless population. Existing workforce partners are already at capacity and cannot absorb the number of people that need support without additional resources. Providing employment navigation within the homeless response system in partnership with our local workforce agencies is our best way to help families make their way out of homelessness and on a path to long-term success. I also want to underscore the importance of this additional investment given the federal policy changes for SNAP and Medicaid, specifically the updated work requirements coupled with elimination of waivers for people who are experiencing homelessness. We need to provide our most vulnerable neighbors with the tools they need to secure a future where they have enough food to eat and safe place to live, things that every person in our state deserves. From a financial perspective, this funding would provide a strong return on investment, helping people along the way to get into in-demand careers that provide family-sustaining wages. This helps not only one family, but also meets the needs of workforce for the employers and benefits the local and statewide economy. Thank you for considering my testimony. Please support HB 5160 with the level of investment required to ensure that Connecticut can prevent homelessness, meet today's demand with humane capacity, and help people move rapidly into housing.
Thank you. Up next is Noah Bloom. Noah?
Good evening, Senator Austin and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Noah Bloom, Executive Director of Neighborhood Music School, the largest community arts education center in New Haven. On behalf of our 10,000 constituents, please accept our sincere gratitude for your generous support over many years. We respectfully ask that you maintain our current level of funding again this year. With your ongoing support, we will not stand still. We will expand programs, increase access, and deepen community connections. We can all be proud that Neighborhood Music School exists in a state as small as Connecticut. We are the largest community arts school in the country that operates outside of a major metropolitan area. This speaks volumes about the importance of our programs to your constituents. Tonight, rather than list financials and data that can be found in our application, I'd like to reflect briefly on our founders' directives from 1911, which still guide our work today. First, to create opportunity for joy, because joy fuels success and meaningful contribution. Second, to build community, because people thrive when they feel a sense of belonging, a sense of neighborhood. Third, to help students develop skills that prepare them to succeed in school, career, and life. These goals are more urgent now than ever. Since I know you all also value democracy, including open dialogue, diverse perspective, and collaborative problem solving, I want to point out that NMS embeds these values into our teaching. We bring people together from all walks of life to learn side by side and foster meaningful cross-community connection. At NMS, we are literally building and strengthening democracy every day. In addition to this essential work, there are a few other outcomes that I would like to highlight. While I acknowledge the importance of AI, as educators, we must pay attention to the risks it poses to independent thinking and active learning. The arts offer a powerful response. Live performance demands human engagement, presence, self-reflection, adaptability, and courage. Performing is a practice of real-time empathy, and arts education develops distinctly human capacities that technology cannot replace. Putting a student on stage guarantees an AI-free learning experience. Finally, if we hope to build a positive future, we must invest in arts education. Our students use their creative voices to explore contemporary issues, engage deeply with their communities, and influence meaningful conversations. They learn how the world works and how to shape the future they want to see. Artists have always led social progress. These are just a few of the lasting values and wide-ranging impacts that an NMS education provides. Residents of Connecticut are better off because of your ongoing commitment to Neighborhood Music School and investment in arts education. And we thank you for your time and support.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next is Janice Pisnowski. Janice here, number 64. No? Carol Martin. No.
Greetings, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, Senator Hartley, Senator Kushner, Representative Zoom, Representative Paris, Senator Summers, Representative Nuccio, and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm Carol Martin. I am Executive Director of the Westport and Fairfield Housing Authorities. And my colleague Amanda Saig, who I'm sure is listening in, we just really want to thank you first for the good work that you've done in the past. It's important work, and also to acknowledge with you the difficult road that lies ahead for our working families across the great state of Connecticut. Specifically and foremost, we fully support the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness and Opening Doors of Fairfield County's request for increasing the state's rental assistance program by $50 million per year. This is in addition to the $10 million proposed by Governor Lamont's FY 2027 budget adjustments to maintain the number of families currently served by RAP. It's time for the state to commit the necessary funds to provide a permanent home for every resident. I think that's something we all agree on. In addition to the need for the $50 million, we need to support our labor force and address our working families who are living paycheck to paycheck, commonly referred to as Connecticut's working poor. These families are having to make difficult decisions regularly on rent, food, healthcare, with foregoing one expense to pay for another. Rental assistance is the most cost-effective way to alleviate the rent burden for our working families. The state does a really terrific job at administration of the rental assistance program, yet the wait list to accept new applications has been closed since 2014 due to insufficient funding. We are respectfully requesting an additional $50 million each year of state rental assistance to fund tenant-based RAPs and project-based RAPs to help our working families and to create new affordable housing. The additional $50 million will improve the state's economy by growing the labor force for our businesses, for our business needs, and clearly what they deserve. Thank you for your time tonight, and please all drive home safely.
Thank you. Up next is Kristen Bach.
Hello.
Oh.
Hi. Good evening, Senator Austin and members of the Appropriation Committee. My name is Kristen Bach. When my husband and I moved to Mystic almost 25 years ago, one of the first things we did was become active members and supporters of Mystic Aquarium. A few years later, when I retired, I jumped in with both feet and became a volunteer. I worked in different areas, but most of my 6,000 plus hours have been spent in-house and in the field with the Animal Rescue Program. I did not know what I was getting into, but it's been a great ride. Just this morning, we gathered on the beach to watch Dipper, a young female gray seal who was rescued and brought to us on New Year's Eve, return to her ocean home, fat, healthy, and happy. She was a little hesitant at first, but as soon as she hit the wave, she went right in. Well, it doesn't get better than that, but seal releases are just the icing on the cake. Getting her to that point is a lot of work, up to 6 feeds a day, preparing food and medications, helping our vet team with treatments and exams, and of course, keeping up with all the routine cleaning, decontamination, and maintenance of all the pools and systems, checking each pump and hose and valve multiple times a day. This was particularly important during the recent deep freeze to keep all the care units running. Little Dipper came through just fine, but she is one of many. Over the last 20 years, I've had the privilege of helping treat many different species, seals, sea turtles, even a wayward manatee. I've seen Mystic Aquarium's animal rescue program grow exponentially in scope. We've released and rescued and rehabilitated hundreds of threatened and endangered marine mammals and sea turtles, and responded to many more, alive and deceased, many impacted by entanglement or other human intervention. The samples we collect from each one, whether from a beach necropsy of a whale or from one of our rehabilitated seals, provides necessary data for research. What we learn increases our knowledge not only about what the animals themselves have and the health and the well-being of their own species, but what part they play and what is needed for the conservation and survival of many species in the fragile, ever-changing ocean and coastal environment. It's equally important to pass this knowledge on to the public, though, and we have greatly increased our outreach to the community over the years. We wish to continue expanding the accessibility of our program to our visitors, to get young people excited about what our rescue program has done and what, with a little help from friends like you, will continue to do. The expansion I have seen through the years is exciting and rewarding, but we have a long way to go. If our mission is to continue successfully, our resources and facilities and equipment need to keep up with our growth. That is where you come in. I'm grateful for the support of the legislature and the governor for Mystic Aquarium over the years, and I respectfully ask that you approve the appropriation of $800,000 this year. With your help, we can continue to move forward. Thanks so much for your consideration. And you all get home safe too.
Up next is Alex Johnson. Alex Johnson on there at all? No. Jane Montanaro, she's not here either. Jane Montanaro, no. Alex Johnson, no. Number 71, Karen Hawali. You spelled it wrong. What is it? Healy, okay.
Karen Healy. Hi, I appreciate you guys. Hi, good evening. My name is Karen Healy, and I live in Hartford, and I'm a voter. I'm a consumer and a peer advocate. I advocate at my testimonies every year for people who cannot speak up for themselves, and also for my own story and my own issues that I have with severe mental health issues. I have physical limitations and have some other issues, learning disabilities on top of it. The reason why I'm testifying this evening is because some of the benefits or things of people being in psychiatric hospitals like CVH, where I was from 1989 to about 24 and a half years of my life. I was in state hospitals between Poughkeepsie, New York, where I lived, and Connecticut. I was in Cedar Crest and IOL, and a couple of missions to CVH. I've been out in the community. My discharge date was December 4th of 2014. Over 11 years later, I'm still out successfully in a program. I have staff 724 staff. I live on my own. And basically, the day I got discharged, I had 3 people in the hallway saying, "You'll be back in a week and a half later." Guess what? Never seen CVH ever again, and they're never going to see me either. The reason why I'm also testifying is because if I didn't have the grant in the program of them having me get in the community, my grant came from DEMIS. And if I didn't have that grant and the success I have set up for me now, Capital Region is my clinician and my psychiatrist are based out of there. I see them every 3 months in person just because I have to get my meds refilled and reviewed. When I left CVH December 4th, 2014, I had told my clinical team at CVH and my outside providers and to my family members that I'm not a diagnosis, I'm not a number on the side of a chart, and I'm not a label. I might have issues, but I deal with them in a different way. I might take medication. I have other kind of treatment plans, but I'm as human and as normal as anybody else in society. And I've said this over before. Something like this could happen to you, your mom, your dad, or even you have a psychotic flip out. And that's why you shouldn't make fun of people and put people down with mental health or other disabilities or addiction issues. Because if I didn't have what I have now, if I didn't get the grant from DEMIS and my mom hiring an attorney to help get me out of CVH when I did, I could still be 11 and a half years later, still sitting and rotting in a chair in the day room on Battelle 3 North or Battelle 3 South at CVH. And these are one of the reasons I think people who have long histories of psychiatric issues are always said they doubt they're going to make it. But I have successfully been out. I've had 3 minor Institute of Living admissions. The last time in any inpatient was July 4th of 2018. I've never been in any short acute or long-term hospitalization never since that. So I feel that people who have long history of psychiatric issues should not be doubted that they can succeed. And I think this is a good thing for other people to be able to get grants to be in a community setting so they don't have to be institutionalized and have the care that they really need. Because when you're CVH, you just sit there. If you don't have a level, you go absolutely nowhere. And I have had my series about that. So that's why I consider thinking that Connecticut should still give grants and help fund people who need to have a life. Thank you for letting me share tonight. I appreciate you taking my time to listen to my testimony tonight, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice night. Up next is Joe Gresco, who is not here or online, and the next one is Darlene Bore. Darlene?
Hi. Hey, thank you all for hanging in there. Am I the last one?
You are.
All right. Great. Thank you all so much for hanging in there. Really appreciate it. Congratulations, everyone. So good evening, chairpersons, distinguished members of the committee. My name's Darlene Bore, and I'm the director of the micro business program in the co-op at Futures, Inc. So I'm here to urge you to lift any proposed reductions to the budget line item that supports Future and the development of micro businesses co-ops for individuals with disabilities. I want to tell you a little bit about this program. This program is not a luxury. It's really such an innovation. For many individuals with significant disabilities, traditional employment pathways, as you can imagine, are not available. Not because they lack motivation, they want to work, but because structure of typical workplaces just don't accommodate their needs. So the microbusiness co-op changes that. It's innovative. It creates flexible, supported opportunities where individuals can build on their strengths, pursue their passions, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. And these are real businesses. They're known and supported locally. So Maryland's Candles, Ted's Bath Bombs, Stevens Shea Butter Body Bars, Ben's Fire Starters, Cody's Fidget Spinners, Katie's Soap. They sell products and services that reflect what makes Connecticut unique. Yes, these are small businesses, but they give customers more local choice. They keep dollars circulating in our towns instead of flowing out to large corporations. When someone with a disability launches a micro business, we're not just supporting one person. We're nurturing entrepreneurship. We're building community. We're investing in someone's dream. And the economic impact doesn't just stop there. These businesses also create employment for others. Caregivers, job coaches, speech pathologists, occupational therapists, behaviorists, professionals who support the individual's success. Those wages are also spent locally. So this is a community economic development in its purest form. This co-op model is innovative. It has the potential to really make Connecticut a national leader. I know it's being watched by other disability groups across the United States. In rethinking employment for people with disabilities. Other states are watching it. We have an opportunity to lead, not retreat. Reducing this funding would slow momentum at the very moment we should be scaling what works. So this program really reflects who we are at our best: creative, inclusive, forward-thinking. I respectfully ask that you restore full funding and allow this innovative model of Futures Inc. to continue creating jobs, building community, and expanding opportunity. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Good night. Have a nice one.
You too.
Okay, everybody, we are now closing our public hearing, and everybody drive safely home because it is icy.